Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Celtics wrapped up their 7-game homestand with a loss last night, 118-112 to Oklahoma City at TD Garden. NBA MVP favorite Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored a game-high 34 points for the Thunder, who became the first team in the Western Conference to clinch a playoff spot. Jason Tatum scored 33 points for the Celtics.
You know, good defensive team, really good team. So you got to be intentional about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to create on offense. And it's just, you know, read the defense, read the matchups, make the right play.
Celtics attempted a franchise record 63 three-point shots in this game. They visit Miami tomorrow night. Sportico reported yesterday the bidding for the Celtics franchise appears to be down to 4 groups, one of which is led by the team's current minority owner, Steve Pagliuca. The other 3 include Philadelphia Phillies minority owner Stan Middleman, AS Roma and Everton Soccer Club owner Dan Friedkin, and Symphony Technology Group owner William Chisholm. The next round of bids is due at the end of this week. Bruins visit Ottawa tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Patriots have re-signed safety Jalen Hawkins to a 1-year, $2.25 million contract. Patriots free agents Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise have signed 1-year deals with the Washington Commanders. And former Patriots quarterback Mac Jones has signed a 2-year contract with San Francisco. And the Red Sox beat Minnesota in exhibition baseball last night 6-5. Tristan Casas' first homer of the spring in the win. The Sox visit Port St. Lucie, Florida today to play the Mets. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respect at Albrecht, now 8 locations, including the all-new Subaru of Wakefield. Thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles, all at the right price at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score to the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
When has that been necessary to fact check?
and Hardy
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
on 98.5.
Hey there.
Sarge GPT loading up.
Let me hear you say, "Boo! Boo! Boo!"
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope. I'm a goddamn drag.
Yeah, good luck, dude. Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you. And I think you know that.
Excuse me?
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun. Having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Yep.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. We are in the Town Fair Tire Studios, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can call us at 617-779-0985. We're live on YouTube. You can... big show on the way today as Jay King and Phil Perry are going to be joining us in a new recurring segment we're going to start today as our 6th man of the show, as we are going to have 2 people every day that are in our orbit, non-sports people that are in our orbit, kind of duke it out for supremacy. And then we will award our 6th man of the year. And today we have 2 interesting people, one of whom I don't know if you know much about, but we certainly do, because it is a nonstop barrage of email from this certain person.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of communication, and unfortunately, it's mostly like a one-way flow. And I look forward to having hopefully a little more interaction, a little more back and forth, because when you get barraged, when you get so much being sent to you, you don't reply to junk mail. And I don't mean to say that this is junk mail, but there's just so much of it. There's just so many things, and it's all interesting. It's all interesting stuff, but you don't reply directly to it. You just can't. You don't have the time.
You also can't read it all.
Right.
I mean, when you're getting 10 a day, there's no reading 10 emails. I mean, you can't open them all up. I mean, one is got to do what they got to do.
Could you imagine having a job where it was really important that you read and deciphered and understood and replied to each and every one of your emails? I mean, we all have friends with grown-up jobs where they have to do that. It's got to take half your day. Just sifting through everything, and everything has to get a response. Oh, that's a lot.
It's a massive pain in the ass.
Does your wife work at home? John's does.
Yes.
I'd say half the time.
Yeah, because when I was living with my ex-wife and she had another job that she worked at home, I was like, I have no sympathy for anyone who works from home. It's because even, you're here for 4 hours. Yeah, but for 4 hours, we're here and have to be engaged at least a little bit. I mean, we're talking for 4 hours. I would say that people that work from home, in my experience, there's never, ever, ever in the history of their careers a 4-hour time span where they're engaged. It's impossible. Do you ever go to the gym at like 2:30 in the afternoon? I went to the gym yesterday at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's packed. It's packed with adults.
Okay, I have two things on this. And I'm not just defending my wife and trying to make her sound good and being, that guy. But when she works, she's like at her desk and she works. And her biggest complaint about having to go into the office is she doesn't get as much work done.
Mine too. Same thing.
She gets more work. Now, does she also have time to let the dog in or out, or maybe do some household chore in the middle of it? Yes, but those things that take them away from their active engagement are minuscule compared to the distractions she gets in the office.
The constant thing I get from my wife is nobody bothers me if I'm not in the office. If I'm in the office, I have people walking in, people wanting to talk, people wanting to do this. It's much easier if I'm at home.
See, I would say there's a value to that, though. I would say that there's a value to that kind of interaction with your coworkers. It might not seem like there is, but ultimately, if I was a business owner, that's what I would want.
Well, yeah, and I think the full-time work from home people are missing out on that, and the companies, miss out on it too. She's not at home all the time. I just know from what she tells me and from what I see, when she's working from home, she's working and gets a ton of stuff done that, I can see, wow, you're really there working, as opposed to being at the office where she says she doesn't get as much done.
I don't doubt. Look, I'm not fighting if your wife gets her work done. I'm sure she does a lot of work. I'm just saying that. I mean, there's naps, there's naps, and then there's errands being run. It's a whole scene.
But
how do we get on this topic again?
I've lost track.
I don't know. But what you said that really sparked something in me, Fred, because I saw it again yesterday. The people at the gym in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Young people, old people, all walks of life. Not all these people are maitre d's that go into work at 6 o'clock. Okay, there's just no way.
No, there's no way.
So there's a ton of people at the gym in the middle of the day, and I go there to play pickleball. Occasionally get on a Stairmaster. That's it. Not
just to get the blood flowing before a game.
Look, I'm not lifting weights. They're too heavy. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing any of that stuff. But what bothers me, and it's got nothing to do with me. Mind your own business. Eyes straight ahead. Just stop being so judgy. Go ahead, right? Tell me everything. I walk through the gym. I walk through the actual workout area to get to the pickleball courts, and mostly what I see are people who go to the gym so that they have a place to sit down and look at their phones. And they're sitting on various workout equipment machines, and there's no way, there's no chance it is half. It's more than half of the people that I just look at, just glance at. They're not working out. They're looking at their phones. They're fiddle-effing around with their phones. And to anyone who says, oh, I go to the gym 3-4 days a week and I'm there for an hour and a half. Do you? What do you do while you're there? Because I see what the majority of people do at the gym is they sit there or stand there and they look at their phones. That's what they're doing. Why bother? Because you want to be able to say to yourself, "I went to the gym today." Good. Why don't you leave the phone like in your locker? Leave it in the car. Leave it at home. If you're really going to work out, go do that thing. I can't stand it. I don't know why it bothers me. Because I probably because I know these are the same people who are bragging about how often they go to the gym.
So at my gym, it's like a really nice locker room. There's like a sauna, a steam room, a whirlpool, a cold plunge. But then there's this area where there are essentially like beach lounge chairs. And it's so funny because it's a men's locker room. Now it's an area, you're not like around like the toilets or like the lockers, but dudes like take naps on those things. Like, and I'm not saying like a guy, like every day there will be dudes like with the towel over their heads, like with their eyes closed. And I always think, why are you doing, or they're doing work like in the gym, like on a laptop.
I see a lot of that too in the waiting areas. There's a couple of chairs set up like sporadically in the hallways, and the people are there on their laptops.
But that makes more sense to me than the locker room. That maybe like you wanted to go to a class or something, and then right when it ended, you had like a Zoom, whatever the hell people do for work, or you had to put numbers in a spreadsheet or whatever the hell you're doing. Like that, I almost understand more than like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna go take a nap or maybe knock out some work in the locker room, which is again another working from home thing. But putting aside the working from home thing, in that, because I like talking about it because it infuriates people. I get a series of emails about how I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. I do know. I know what you're doing, and you wouldn't be defensive if you weren't. The reason people get defensive is because there's a grain of truth to what's being said. But because people email me, they get very upset. But have you seen these videos of women? They film themselves at the gym, which is every woman. And then they put on the internet that a guy looked at them.
Yes.
And and then there's dudes that shame the women for saying that the guys looked at them. So if there was a video of me looking at a woman in the gym and she put it up and like, look at this guy, I'd be like, yeah, I was looking at you. Yes, I wasn't looking through your window. I wasn't, I didn't have a camera set up in your toilet. I was looking at you.
I wasn't upskirting.
Yeah,
no.
You're good looking. You're good looking. I was looking at you. I wasn't staring at you for 2 minutes. But if they had like 10 seconds of me looking at someone, I'd be like, yes. My eyes. I'm heterosexual, and my eyes went and gazed upon you.
How dare you look at me while I'm shooting this video that I'm begging people to look at?
But just beyond that, like, yes, I'm looking at you. For instance, it's not for the same reason, but if there's like a super like strong dude like lifting like an assload of weight, I'll sit there like gawking at him, like it's interesting to see. And if there's a woman who I find attractive, that's doing something, my eyes are certainly going to be. Now I'm not going to like follow them around the gym, but if they're in my eye line. Like if I'm like on a treadmill or something and they're they're in front of me, like exercising, like in an exercise area, and they're in like my line of sight.
Yeah,
my eyes will gravitate towards theirs, to them. Of course it will.
Sometimes there's that big light on your phone, while you're shooting yourself. That kind of draws.
No, I'm not
attention
even
to
talking about necessarily if they're shooting themselves. That's just how I know that women are calling guys out on it.
Yeah,
but I don't know why. And maybe someone could explain to me, but why you should be vilified for looking at someone? I just find that hysterical.
No, I don't know. I don't know
how
why.
Is that even like sexist or like intimidating? I'm not talking about like sitting there licking my lips and like biting my lip and like rubbing my nipples. I'm talking about looking at someone.
No,
this guy was looking at me. Yeah. Okay. So what? Yeah, I was looking at you.
But it'd be one thing if you were looking at somebody who was, just trying to enjoy a quiet meal by themselves in a restaurant. These are people who are filming themselves so that people look at them. and then ironically, you know, they want to shame people who look at them.
But also, if someone's eating at a restaurant and you're sitting at a table facing them, and you're in your line of sight, again, I don't understand the looking thing. I understand following. I understand gesturing. I understand unwanted conversation. I understand all of that. I can understand if you're like on a train and they're just sitting there staring. I'm not talking about staring.
Yeah.
Because these women aren't putting videos up about guys staring. They're putting guys up about like looking. So I have to be careful to divert my eyes every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like what's the time where it's leering? 10 seconds? I'm sorry, 10 seconds went by. That's a long time. Say 10 seconds, because think about it. In a video, can't be much more than 10 seconds. I mean, if you counted out 10 seconds, that's how much it would be. So I looked at you for 10 seconds? That's insane.
Well, Fred, this sounds an awful lot like the people who, argue back at you for working from home because they know they're doing something wrong. You're spending an awful lot of time arguing back about staring at women at the gym because you know you're doing something wrong. This is you pushing back, gaslighting, maybe, if we've determined that.
I've never been accused of it, though. I'm talking about more of the videos that women put up saying guys looked at them.
Yeah. It's
No, and I'm not saying that I get more work done or there's other reason for it. I'm admitting to it. So no, it's not the same thing. I'm saying yes, I do it. I don't understand what the problem is. Yeah. I've looked at women in the gym. I absolutely do. I knew a guy that used to say would take classes and he didn't feel comfortable being in one of the back rows because he would assume that women thought he was leering at them.
I think I told you, I'm so afraid of like being accused of it, mostly because of these stupid internet videos. I saw a sales guy, his wife was at the gym that I go to, and I saw her there, and I was 99% sure it was her. And it's someone who I know, who we all know. In fact, we used to work with her. She used to work for Beasley. And I was so afraid of approaching to and talking to a young woman at the gym, I just walked past her and ignored her.
But I understand.
But of course
that.
she did. But there wasn't anything awkward about it. You want to know why? Because she was on her phone, so it didn't really even matter.
Okay,
Yeah.
it brought it back around.
But going up and talking to someone can be an unwanted thing, because then you're like intruding on their space and you're talking to. So I even understand your hesitation to do that because I might feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm talking about literally your eyes are like you're 10 feet away and you're 20 feet away and your eyes fall upon someone.
I think
And they're like, geez, I'm just trying to work out. Okay. Again, I'm not like following you in my car or like looking through your bedroom window, or I'm not up in a tree.
I think there should be a 3-second look. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. That's fine. Everyone's allowed that.
If they like locked eyes, and then you would have to look away.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to sit there like.
How many seconds do you want? I'm offering 3. We can negotiate this. And this is not just for you, this is for everybody.
Let me see here.
Stop looking at me, Fred.
7 to 10.
I can't go that high. I'll give you 4 seconds.
But I'm not talking about locking eyes.
I understand.
I'm talking about in your line of sight. Again, this isn't like looking around something or like, trying to get an angle. This is an innocent line of sight thing.
Nick, get in here and do push-ups for us so we have a simulation of a workout.
That's a good idea.
And we will count how long. No, don't.
He doesn't want you doing it because I'm going to make you do real ones, and then it's going to come a whole scene in here.
Listen. I'm gonna make you my final offer right now. Everyone, this is for the world. You and I are deciding for the world. 5 seconds. You can take it or you can not look at all.
I look at John in my line of sight for over 5 seconds at a time, several times a day. I look at Adam for more than 5 seconds at a time, several times a day.
But
Ryan, he knows why I'm looking at him, and I don't feel. I think he gets uncomfortable because everyone knows we're all jealous of Ryan's rippling muscles
and boyish good looks.
Yeah, and certainly he's got that youth on his side. Cocoon.
Do you want 5 seconds, or do you want to walk away from the table?
Because we got to settle this right now.
I'm giving you 5 seconds.
Yeah.
To look at a woman at the gym.
And then how long do I have to look away before I can look again?
Oh, that's a better question. That's a.
'Cause
Actually,
I'll give you
that's
5
much
seconds.
Better question,
But
Hardy.
can I go 5 seconds, then 10 seconds back to 5 seconds?
Sure.
All right.
Oh yeah, then I'll give 5 seconds is fine.
Okay. All right. Good. Done.
I just have to glance away, and then I can glance right back.
No, you
You
have to spend
double
more
the amount
time.
of time looking away before you look back again.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna. That's gonna have to be an approximation. So because we're not counting.
Well, no one's standing there with a stopwatch, but you gotta,
Well, that's
you know.
what we're talking about here. I mean, we're talking about absolutes, and I can't commit to that.
Hey, there's a stopwatch on your phone, and I know you got that in your hand. You're looking at that.
I will say this, and then I'll stop. Is back to you guys with people on the phone. I'll tell you why that annoys me is because people sit on equipment, and then they'll get wrapped up on their phone, and they'll be sitting on the equipment wrapped up in their phone, and I'm like, you're taking 8 minutes between sets, right? And you're just sitting there, and there's only one of this machine or one of this area one of this bench, and this is something that I want, and you have every right to work out in it. And I really don't want to work in with you because I'm not strong, and I don't want to have to like grab other weights and stuff and like do that in front of you. So maybe
that aspect of it is just rude and inconsiderate, but it doesn't bother me because I don't use any of that stuff.
No, but I think it makes it worse because they're not just sitting looking at a phone, which is their own business, but I could see it being annoying. They're sitting and taking up real estate that everyone else wants.
Of course.
While they get wrapped up in their phone. Because at most, you shouldn't, from what I know, you shouldn't be taking 5 minutes between sets. I mean, that's kind of like it isn't to fatigue the muscle. You should probably be, working at a little bit more of a rate. But who am I to tell you? I'm not strong. But that's the thing. All right. Very quickly, I apologize, Adam, but I need to get to this. Dan, go ahead.
I was going to say, what they're wearing at the gym should determine how much they're going to get looked at. Like, there was a chick in a bikini top yesterday at the gym, and I'm like, all right, you're asking for it. But
Well,
remember,
you can't say that.
it's
You
spring.
can't say that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it is springtime, and we gotta get to the beach and just get used to everybody's skin again. It's been a long winter. And that first hot day where all the girls are walking around wearing their outfits and everybody goes nuts? We'll get there. We'll get there, guys. Hang in.
All
We'll
right.
be out.
I do have friends that get insane during the spring because women start wearing different outfits, and I do find that weird. Jeremy, go ahead.
All right, so I'm thinking you guys are talking about how long it is that you're staring at someone, but you got to consider that the person being stared at, she's probably getting stared at by everyone in the gym because from a ratio perspective, you guys are all gawking at her. There's not a bunch of people gawking at you. So from her perspective, the 5 seconds that you're staring, it's really multiplied by however many other people are staring. And that's probably why people don't like getting stared at. So I feel like I don't think you deserve 5. I think you get like 1 because there's like 100 times 1.
Well, 1 second is just your eye movement. I mean, 1 second, and you say gawking. Now, is 5 seconds of looking at someone gawking? I mean, let's define gawking.
Yes.
Oh, Adam,
yeah,
you
I
are
think,
now.
yeah, I think
now
we all
Adam's
know
out of
where you're
control.
looking, right?
Adam, we
So-
understand. You don't.
And you'd be surprised.
Women are just one big emotional connection to you.
You'd be
There's no looking
surprised
that.
at the amount of eyes that feast upon me when I'm walking across that workout floor with my pickleball paddle in one hand, wearing my New Balance court shoes, just strutting like the cock of the walk. I feel the eyes upon me. It's tit for tat. Don't you worry about that.
All right. There you go. All right. I'll come back with the with gawking and what that matters. What the actual definition is. All right, when we come back, there was a big basketball game last night.
There was.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
We are Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Hardy, what's going down?
The best team of the West came into town last night to play one of the best teams in the East as the Oklahoma City Thunder, rankings-wise, standing-wise. I'm correct on that, right,
Yep,
Sean?
number one in the West.
Thank you. With Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, we are doing the soft G on the second G.
Yes.
Finally, I've decided
Gilgeous.
on that after hearing it 100 times over the last 24 hours.
I heard the end of the game call from the Thunder broadcast team, and they were Gilgeous-Alexander, and they said, "You're MVP." It was very Homer-esque. But I can't. But we have Homer calls too. So what can I complain about them? They're on the Sports Animal in Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah. So, this is the obvious hype going into this game. It's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. It's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And once again, a Porzingis-less Boston Celtics hosting last night. But, is the game going to live up to the hype and the anticipation? And very early on, it appeared that it would.
Holmgren moves it to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Deep on the left side against Jaylen Brown. Dribbles behind his back. Loses Jaylen. Attacks the paint. Runs it up and in as he gets knocked down. Spectacular.
Said that was a matchup, buddy.
This dude is at another level right now. 11-3.
I mean, another level right now. He just said 11-2-3. Now, another level in terms of his career, yes. But right from the outset of that game last night, he went out there and went into the paint and started taking over. And that's how Oklahoma City started scoring their points last night in the paint.
Well, and you know who he abused last night. He abused Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
They tried different defenders on him last night. They tried Derek White. They tried Peyton Pritchard.
White finished with 5 fouls and Brown fouled out.
So White fouled out too.
Oh, okay. So White ended up fouling out.
And that was because they both had to guard him.
Well,
he fouled both those guys out.
Well, that's what was my point I was making. Is that if you mentioned Brown and White and both of them fouled out, so I mean, they couldn't check them. It was, and by the way. You say Porzingis wasn't there. Oklahoma City was missing their second best player.
Yes, Jalen Williams, who is an all-star this year, averaging 20 points a game, and they were also missing Alex Caruso, who is an all-NBA defensive player, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. They were missing both of those guys for this game.
But Oklahoma City was relying on other big-ish guys. We'll get to that in a moment. As Oklahoma City was scoring their points in the paint, how did the Celtics score last night in the opening frame?
3 offensive rebounds already for OKC. Here's the entry to Al Horford. He's going to zip into the corner. Holiday kick out of the wing. Tatum finds Jaylen Brown and moves it to the left wing for Derek White's open 3.
Is it going to be a shootout? Is it going to be a shootout?
13-9. OKC by 4 after scoring the first 9 points of the game.
Okay. The Celtics did not score a 2-point basket until they were 2 minutes into the second quarter.
Yeah.
They scored 30 points in the first quarter. I believe it was 9 threes and 3 foul shots.
36 three-point attempts in the first half.
Yeah.
That's the most of in any half in NBA history.
Yeah. It was Missoula ball squared in the first half.
They took more threes in the first half last night than any team has ever taken in a half of basketball ever.
A product of that is Oklahoma City's size. Oklahoma City went double big. They had Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein in the game. The Celtics, without Porzingis, were really small compared to this team. And that's Oklahoma City is very versatile. They can do a lot of different things. But the three-point shot was a product of that. They couldn't get anything in the paint.
Yeah, that's good analysis. I heard a couple other guys, so I am legitimately complimenting you. There was a couple NBA guys saying that Porzingis changes that game. And again, that's why I mentioned Oklahoma City's out a couple. I mean, their second best player.
Well, yeah.
And so, but Porzingis adds an element to the Celtics that you have to pay attention to him. So maybe that frees up people. Maybe they're not going to shoot less threes.
But you draw one of those big guys out of there.
Yeah. Well, as we were talking about earlier, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously fantastic last night. But a lot of credit being given after the game, not only to what SGA did, but this gentleman who Wallach just mentioned.
SGA zips an entry, tough pass. Holmgren catches it with his back to the basket, puts it over his head, off the window and in. How he handled that pass from SGA in the first place was spectacular.
He caught it almost behind his head.
Chet Holmgren ended up finishing with 23 points last night, and that was as much of a difference maker as what SGA was doing, especially in the opening quarter.
He also had 15 rebounds, but most importantly, he hit 3 threes. That's
11th rebound for Holmgren.
Good cut down. 20 rebounds tonight.
SGA finds Holmgren and steps right into a right side three and knocks it down. And Chet Holmgren is putting on a show with the nation watching.
Yeah, he was fantastic last night too. You watch this game and you see why Oklahoma City is so good. They just lost to Denver, a couple of nights ago. They had travel, and even though the Celtics were close, you could tell that they were scrambling for most of the night. The Oklahoma City never went up by 20. Celtics were close the entire evening, but if they don't make all those threes, they're not close at the end of this game.
Now, the one thing that I'm interested to hear what you think on this, Wallach, is in the third quarter, OKC did open up a 12-point lead, and the Celtics got it back to a tie game. How did they do that? They started going inside. That's how they started scoring their points. Defense, they took advantage of a little bit of a cold stretch shooting from OKC, but they went cold shooting the three-pointers, and they managed to attack the paint a little bit. And that's how they got the game tied again.
At the time, the OKC didn't have the double big out there.
So that was
part of it.
They took advantage of the personnel difference
Yes.
at that point in the third quarter.
Yes.
All right.
The thing is, Holmgren, as we just heard, can step out and make threes. He blocks shots. Hartenstein is not a threat to shoot from out there, as you would think a big man needs to be. But with the two of them out there, Hartenstein's good enough around the rim where you can't leave him alone. That's part of the problem. You don't have to double down on him, but Oklahoma City has so many good shooters out there. They just do so many things well, and they play really good defense. This team is a problem. I mean, I watched that game, and even though the Celtics were close, I don't know if you can beat that team 4 times, even with Porzingis in there. You need a fully healthy Porzingis to have a chance to knock that team out.
That's true.
And even then, I'm not sure if you can.
You have to rely on them choking. And would they choke if they make it to the finals, would OKC still be of the mind that they would choke, right? Like if you make it through the West and you're healthy, is the finals too big a moment for you? You've never been there before. That's debatable. And that's the big advantage the Celtics have is experience. It would be very interesting to see because Oklahoma City seems to have their coaching certainly is good, and they seem to have a collection of talent that's equal to that of the Celtics, but also the ability to do different things. Like they have, they're more malleable. I guess that's not the right term, but there's more things they can do well than the Celtics can.
You look at Oklahoma City has something to play for. A lot of people forget they were the number 1 seed in the West last year.
Yes,
and they were beaten by Dallas in the second round. It was a huge shock. Oklahoma City thought they were going to go to the finals last year. So this collection, almost everyone's back from last year's team. They have something to play for. They have one of those rallying cries. Okay, we were here last year. We should have gone deeper. We didn't. Let's go back and kick ass this year. They have that chip on their shoulder that is spurring them on. But the other part of it is they haven't really been fully healthy all season. They haven't really been full speed, and they're still first in the West by a lot. This is a great team that's playing really well. We talked about the Celtics beating Cleveland, and I'm convinced they can beat Cleveland in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference Finals. This team, after watching them last night, and by the way, the same thing happened out there at Oklahoma City. Celtics were close, and then in the last 5 minutes, Oklahoma City just put them away, and it wasn't hard. I don't know if the Celtics can beat this team in a playoff series. And that's the only team I've looked at them playing this year that I've thought that.
Well, I think the bench would play better if the Celtics had more chances in a 7-game series. The OKC bench outscored them 33-20 last night. Kristaps Porzingis would make a big difference in this game, and I think maybe they figure out a couple of things defensively to stop some of that bench effectiveness from OKC. But you're not going to stop Gilgeous-Alexander. You know that. You're just going to have – he's one of those players where you just realize he's going to get his points. Let's try not to have two guys foul out in the process of trying to stop him from getting the points that he's going to get anyway.
Well, if Oklahoma City's healthy, their bench is better.
They're deeper.
And then they're deeper.
They're deeper.
I mean, so you're never going to solve that problem.
You got 3-point specialists like Isaiah Joe, who's really good. We just talked about Hartenstein. Kendrick Williams is a good defensive player that can make threes. They are just as good as you are, and you brought up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jaylen Brown had to guard all the toughest guys during the playoffs last year. Doncic was his guy in the finals last year, and he won.
Yeah, that's part of the reason he was MVP.
And the other part of it is Derek White and Drew Holiday are second-team all-defensive players. Alexander made all three of those guys look foolish last night.
Yeah.
It was a good game to watch because they had a playoff feel to it, though. The amount of defense that was being played, and I don't think Jaylen Brown had any kind of a regression last night, but you saw him lose the handle a couple of times. You saw him, not looking to move the ball, which was a bad habit that he got into before they won. You have to go back 2 years to see him. And Tatum was guilty of the same thing. They would get the ball and just tunnel vision. I'm going to back this guy down. I've decided that this is my time to make a shot. And he did that a couple of times last night. He got his pocket picked a couple of times in the process. And it's a mindset. He's got to let that go, get back to, what he did during the conference finals and the NBA finals last year. And I think last night was a good reminder of the difference between a regular season game against just a team and what playoff basketball is like against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league.
All right, we'll be right back. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius.
better yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sport.
And some moves were officially made. We knew were going to happen anyway. Rams released Cooper Kupp after failing to make a trade. And Aaron Rodgers, who we knew was, out there looking. We have the latest from Adam Schefter on the Hall of Fame quarterback. Yes, Adam?
Aaron Rodgers is basically processing what he wants to do. The Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting for a decision from Aaron Rodgers. The New York Giants are waiting for a decision from Aaron Rodgers. I was told yesterday morning, we said this on NFL Live yesterday, this decision from Aaron Rodgers could, quote unquote, take some time.
Oh, God. What an idiot.
He's going to get Tomlin fired. And I heard it, and I heard someone else say it yesterday. After I said it yesterday morning, it's not a stolen take or anything. I mean, it's obvious. No matter where he goes, he's getting that coach fired. No hyperbole, no sarcasm, nothing. If he goes to the Giants, Dayball's fired. If he goes to the Steelers, they're going to fire Tomlin. Because if he goes to the Steelers, they're not making the playoffs. They're not going to. And so, and then if Tomlin doesn't make the playoffs, because half the fan base already wants him fired because he doesn't win playoff games. He hasn't won a playoff game in a long time. But you can always point to his unmatched consistency. But if they don't make the playoffs, then Tomlin's fired.
Pittsburgh is run by some really smart people. They have a really smart head coach. Why are they waiting? Why?
Because the only other option is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, who's going to visit Cleveland and the Giants this week.
Right. So they're the domino to fall. But Pittsburgh, I guess you could justify getting Aaron Rodgers because you need a quarterback. You think they obviously don't like Russell Wilson at all. They tried to bring Fields back, but Fields was pissed at him for benching him. So that's why Fields went to the Jets. So they wanted Fields back, but they didn't get him. And so now they have turned to Aaron Rodgers, but the Giants, if the Giants get Aaron Rodgers, where he might go, because he has a place in New York and he likes being in New York, all those things. Dayball and their general manager might as well just pack their bags now because they're fired. It's going to be an S show. Aaron Rodgers, after last season, is still contemplating and taking his time. He likes being the center of attention so much. Again, the Jets did everything he wanted them to do. And look what he did. He won 6 games. He won 6 games, and he was terrible. He lost to the Patriots. That dumb Patriots team he lost to. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett. They brought in Alan Lazard. They brought in the other receiver. What's his face? That they had to get in the
Cobb.
middle. Oh, they brought in Randall Cobb, and then they brought in last year. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Who else?
He's good. He played for Green Bay. I forget it.
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ! You don't know?
No.
How can you not remember? They won 5 games last year, by the way.
Hang on. I'm looking.
He played for the Raiders. He played for the Green Bay. He's good.
How can you not
Devontae Adams.
Because my brain doesn't work like that.
Devontae Adams is the guy who you're thinking of.
They brought in Cobb, Lazar, Devontae Adams. They paid Alan Lazar a phenomenal amount of money to suck. He dropped more passes than any other receiver with his round of snaps.
How did Garrett Wilson catch 100 passes last year? That's amazing.
Well, especially since Rodgers stopped throwing to him.
I know.
With 3 games left.
That's the thing I didn't know, that he stopped throwing to him, because you looked at Devontae Adams' numbers the last 4 weeks. You're like, oh, it's a resurgence. And then Fred corrected me and said, well, that's because he was force-fed the football at the end of the year.
He put Wilson on the pay no mind list.
Yeah.
That's why. So if the Steelers...
And that's why Wilson was threatening to leave, and that's another reason I think they got Fields, is because they played together in college.
So 2 more things here. The Steelers don't end up with Aaron Rodgers. Someone from the Draft Network put together this possible scenario. The Steelers trade picks 21, 83, and a first-rounder in 26. Oh, and a second-rounder in 26 to the Jaguars for the 5th overall pick to select
Shedeur Sanders.
There you go.
boy.
I'd rather do that than I would take Aaron Rodgers.
I would too.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if Shedeur Sanders can play quarterback in the NFL, but I would rather do that than take Aaron Rodgers.
Here's the thing. Keep this in mind. If you're worried, if you think Shedeur Sanders is going to go in the top 3, Arch Manning's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. And so do I really want to invest, if I have the 3rd pick in the draft this year, in Shedeur Sanders if I know that I can get Arch Manning next year? I would not. The Arch Manning coming out next year makes taking Shedeur Sanders in this draft even less likely. Because if I'm going to be bad next year, I'd rather be bad with a chance at Arch Manning than I would be bad settling for Shedeur Sanders.
One more thing to get to. It's from a podcast, which, this we get all our information, the latest news as long, after it's recorded, edited, uploaded, and then downloaded. You can get the latest on the 49ers Report podcast, and you also get cool music. Listen to this production and this editing here.
You just knew it was going to happen. It was a matter of time. On day 3 of free agency, March 12th, 2025, Mac Jones officially became a member of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Good.
Why do they do that? Why do they even put that together?
And there's something with podcasts where you can't be like, I don't think you can talk over music. You can play music, but then the music has to stop, and then you talk, which is why it sounds like this.
You just knew it was going to happen.
Why can't
it was
you
a
talk
matter
over
of time.
Why? Where's that?
It's a
rule?
one-track recording system.
Why
You get
is
one track?
Why is this guy sitting there making that?
Well, to let the world know that Mac Jones is signed with the 49ers.
Yeah. How could you find
You didn't
out?
know.
No, I didn't know.
You just found out.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, the internet doesn't exist. The radio doesn't exist. Nothing exists except for that podcast.
So that's the plan in San Francisco. If you can't figure out stuff with Brock Purdy, hey, that's all right. We got Mac Jones.
Yeah, I'm sure that's I'm sure that's what they're thinking, is that we're just gonna, hey Purdy, you better come up, meet our terms, or else this kid's taking over. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Hardy and I have big responsibilities on our plate.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
is.
Our shot quality was 1.18 in real time. Probably a little bit lower, but I thought we got amazing looks. I mean, that's just the shell of their defense. I mean, they protect the paint first. They try to get out. Our 2-on-1 reads were really good. So I thought we generated relatively great looks throughout most of the game.
Jason Tatum scored 33 points, and Derek White added 22 before fouling out. The Green have tonight off. They visit Miami tomorrow evening. In other Celtics news, Sportico reported yesterday the bidding for the Celtics franchise appears to be down to 4 groups. One of those groups is led by the team's current minority owner, Steve Pagliuca. The other 3 include Philadelphia Phillies minority owner Stan Middleman, AS Roma and Everton Soccer Club owner Stan Friedkin, and Symphony Technology Group owner William Chisholm, who's based in Menlo Park, California. The next round of bids is due at the end of this week. Bruins will be in Ottawa tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Patriots have re-signed defensive back Jalen Hawkins. Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones have signed one-year contracts with the Washington Commanders. Mac Jones has signed a 2-year deal with San Francisco. And the Red Sox beat Minnesota last night in Fort Myers 6-5. They visit the Mets in Port St. Lucie, Florida today. Opening day is 2 weeks from today in Texas. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Avidia Bank, the Metro West best bank. Work with a community bank that goes above and beyond the customers and their community. Honest to goodness. Member FDIC, member DIF. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider. That was the year of Deflategate, I believe. And Deflategate, and then I started getting going about Deflategate, and he's like, can we talk again tomorrow? And then that's when because I had hit the rage.
Right.
Because that was the worst period of sports talk radio, maybe in the history of sports talk radio. When people would call, well, first of all, the feigning interest in it or feigning passion in it by people was incredibly aggravating. People that I knew didn't care about it. I hated it. And then secondly, you don't understand the balls, the molecules in the air balls, they shrink. That's why the ball was deflated. You won 3 of the 4 games that Brady was out. You won the Super Bowl that year. Goodell were having too much success, and Goodell needs to do something about it. That was the worst. And then the reams of lawsuits that people would sift through. That's why there's lawyers. So you don't have to do that.
So you don't have to read the Wells report, much less the Wells report in context.
Yeah. Why as a fan, would you do any of that? It's lawyers don't like doing that. Lawyers get paid a lot of money to do that because they don't like doing it.
Lawyers have to do it because, they are charged with defending people who are guilty. You, on the other hand, as a private citizen, can look at it and say, oh, of course they did it. And while the punishment may be severe, they did it, which everyone with a brain accepted early on, but you still chose to fight it and argue it like a defense lawyer anyway.
Well, I just don't understand reading legal documents unless you're paid to read the legal document, or it's going to cost you money.
Yeah.
When I got divorced, the thing's 25 pages long. The first 12 pages of it are just garbage you got to put in it. I didn't even read the first 12 pages of my own divorce.
Well, yeah, the boilerplate pages you don't read.
Yeah, you read how much you owe in alimony and child support, what the parenting plan is, what the deal for college is, when it all ends, and there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things that you needed to go. They don't even go through the lawyer, and I had a great law team, but my lawyers, they offered to go over the boilerplate stuff, but I'm just yeah. You just had to put your initials on the paper. And I know my ex-wife, because I was with her for a lot of it, didn't even
just
really look at that
stuff.
Show
me where the little yellow sticky arrows are. Yeah, I'll
Dude, we didn't even go to mediation. We just worked it out. I didn't even do that for my own divorce. I'm not going to. Why would I have gone through all those legal papers for I trust the lawyers know what they're doing. I'm paying them. They know, they take care of that. I don't need to do it. Just like the stock market right now. What are you doing with the stock market? I got a guy for that. I don't know. I trust him. I don't know what the hell is going on. He does it. You find people that you believe in and you let them do it. I couldn't stand it. Oh, it was so aggravating. Even John was not a big Deflategate guy.
I couldn't stand it. It got to a point where it was just a lot of noise. I'm like, just make it go away. I don't care how it goes away. If you have to suspend Brady for 4 games and he sits out and Robert Kraft says fine, just make it go away. And they won 3. And as you said, they won 3 of the 4 games he was out for.
And the notion, and what's so funny about it is that like the fan base got so riled up at Goodell and they were so mad at Goodell. But now you know that during that time, like, Kraft smoking cigars in his office.
I remember that there were pictures of them, like, hanging out at a public event. And this is, like, during the height of it. You know, we didn't know what was going to happen with Brady. We didn't know where things were going to land. And there, Kraft and Goodell, like, canoodling on a couch in the back room of some great power broker meeting. I'm like, what the hell is this? Okay,
that was
fine.
all part of the negotiation.
Yeah, right.
They had a backroom handshake
was.
deal, and then Goodell screwed him. He stabbed him in the back.
This is the worst part about being a sports fan is like when you go, oh, like I'm being played.
Yes.
Like, so here, like these guys are all making billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Like, what does Goodell get paid a year? $50 million? He may get like $50 million a year. And then, Kraft is billions and billions upon billions of dollars. And we're all sitting here arguing about the ideal gas law and bitching about legal documents while those two guys are just sitting back making money and laughing at everyone.
Goodell's up to $64 million a year.
Yeah. So, like, he's crying about Deflategate. He's making – and, like, Kraft's interest is – look, he's a fan and wants to win. I'm not fine. But at the end of the day, these guys are working at a level while we're all sitting around wringing our hands about this garbage, their interests are their $1 billion assets. And that's like when you feel played. And I saw it from the beginning and I'm thinking, you guys are in a fight that you're rooting for 2 boxers that aren't fighting. You're rooting for 2 boxers that are having tea. They're not fighting each other. They're in cahoots.
Did all this make it into the Athletic article?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of it.
All right. So we can
No
read
wonder he wanted to talk to you the next day.
Oh, so you want to move on?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yes, I don't want to talk about Deflategate.
Let's go over that again.
I don't want to talk about how we don't want to talk about Deflategate. Thank you.
Hardy has a point.
It's more of a macro thing.
Yeah.
All right. So Hardy and I both, because we are, at the top of our professions, have to go, and that we are asked to do speaking engagements
all the time.
So I have to. My son, it's not a class he didn't even get into. His school does this thing, Winterim. I think it's like winter term, but it's called Winterim. And you take like one class for 2 weeks. Like some kids are going to like, Uganda and digging wells. My son's taking glass blowing. But there is a sports media class where they're going to like the Big East tournament or something.
Can I just stop you for a second? That wasn't a joke.
No, he's doing glass blowing.
He's taking a glass blowing class.
All right.
He likes it, but that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Right.
And so the idea is you do something unconventional during this period of time. So, yeah, he didn't get what he wanted. He wanted the sports writing class, which is – and the guy's he's the head basketball coach, so I've seen him a couple times. He asked me to do that. I'm more than happy to do it. But then I realized I'm talking to a room full of, I would imagine, 99%, 17, 18-year-old boys, and they're not going to know who I am or what the hell's going on. So now I've had to enlist Nicholas, and I'm going to have to pay Nick because I know I'm going to have to use audio, and I'm not going to sit there and try to set it up myself. So I'm paying Nick to we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but I'm paying Nick to compile audio, and then I'm paying him to go there with me and set up the sound on a computer so I can go, all right, I'm going to use Cedric Maxwell's 2 interviews ago because I'm going to go, no one cares about the Celtics right now when we talk to Cedric, and here's how you do because remember he started talking about being in the Celtics and how it was considered a white team, but the starting 5 were black and they had a black head coach. I'm going to play that. And then I got to think of a couple other things to play because I figure
Incubus interview.
That's it. Kids get drunk and interview bands. But if you can think of anything else, by the way, you two on your own that we can pull, that I can play, I'd like it from. Are
you going to pay me? You're paying
I
Nick.
smell like flatulence.
I just need you to think of something. I don't need you to do anything.
I get paid for my thoughts.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's. But so now this has become a whole thing. I don't mind doing it, but it's become like a whole thing. Like because I know I can't sit there and command a room for 10 minutes, let alone an hour.
Which is why you still haven't guest lectured at Gary Tanguay's class. You just know you don't have the chops, the charisma to stand in front of kids and say, "Hey, listen."
I'm not paying for a
Hardy
lift
and
both
I-
ways to go out to Emerson
Right.
so I can go teach a class for Gary.
Hardy and I have entered the Thunderdome and
taking the
emerged
train.
victorious. You know, I lectured for, 35, 40 minutes?
You're from here, so you're more comfortable parking down there. I'm not going down to Emerson and parking.
You
and,
took the
and doing
train
all
to the game the other day.
No, I do that. That's fun. I'm not going to do a favor.
You're not going to take the train to do a favor?
No. I don't know, Gary. What favor has Gary done for me? I'm not going to do it. What do I have to go teach his class for? This is at least my
He
son's
comes
school.
on the air every time you ask him.
Yeah, he does. Thank you, Wallach.
And he gets nothing out of that?
Correct. I don't think
What does
his
he get out
wallet
of
is
it?
any
Well,
different afterwards.
The Ringer didn't pay me to do that interview. I realized the power of exposure. Someone reads that I'm calling the fans effing a-holes, and they're like, let's hire this kid.
Yeah.
This is the next Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you do things to keep your name out there. Let's be honest. I didn't ask the Ringer for money so they could talk to me. Curran, I'm sure, didn't get paid. Shaughnessy didn't get paid. Sometimes you do these things to get your name out there. That's what we're giving Gary. We're giving him a platform.
So you've got that, Fred. Tonight I am speaking to the Arlington Touchdown Club, and I forgot this juicy little part of the story. A mutual friend of ours and former coworker, Howie Sylvester, who is retired. Might be the first colleague of mine I've ever known to retire. Like, you do this, any business long enough, someone's going to retire, and Howie did. But he's still out there moving and shaking. And he was approached by somebody at the Arlington Touchdown Club who asked him, hey, we have a monthly speaker series, dinner meetings, and it's a great organization, raises money for all the youth and high school-related activities, usually sports. We plan on having a Celtics or Bruins-themed event for our March 13th meeting, wondering if you could be any help trying to help secure a speaker. So Howie texted me on this premise, and that is the premise. And I said, when is it fine? Yeah, yes, I'd be happy to do it. I was then forwarded in an email chain that had some more information about the club. However, embedded within the chain, you will see all the other people they asked first.
Oh, really?
Where were you on the list? How many down?
Well, I know Beetle was asked about this also, and he was unable to. So that's one that's not even on the list.
Yeah.
Gasper. Oh, okay, so first they wanted like somebody from the Bruins or Celtics broadcast. So let's just go with 4 right off the bat. Let's go with Ryan Johnston, Bob Beers, Sean Grandy, Cedric Maxwell.
Okay.
No. Due to travel and, scheduling.
Not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Mark Bertrand, no. How about a Globe columnist? Might be able to get Gasper or Shaughnessy. No, unavailable. Oh, how about one of the talk show guys from the Sports Hub? That's when Beetle got asked.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else. I don't know who else. Let's run down the list. Felger, Maz, Beetle, Zoe, Fred.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't asked.
And finally they got to me. So
That's only 8 guys. It's only 8 guys.
I might have.
For them who are traveling.
Are they paying you?
It's like, what do they call it? An honorarium. Yeah, sure.
Because I might have talked at this place because I talked at something that I got paid for, and Zolak had done it like 3 weeks before me, and Zolak killed.
And you found out he made 3 times as much?
Probably, and he deserved it because he went there and killed, and it was a lead balloon. It was just awful.
How long did you speak for that night?
Not too long. I mean, not long, but too long. It just none of my jokes landed, and then I started leaning into like being super dry and then in not like emoting at all, and because like that was my reaction to the lack of.
That he closed up.
No, I started to get almost obstinate. Like I started to go, okay, well, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm not going to try harder. Like this, so we're at an impasse here. Like if you're not going to give me anything as a crowd, because I'm obviously not what you want, I'm not going to work harder for it. Like
Sure.
I'm going to even lean in more into what you're not liking. Yeah. And they were nice, but just the room was dead for me. They loved Zolak. Like Zolak told, because all you have to do if you're Zolak is get up there and tell stories about when you play.
I asked Zoe to come speak at when my kids were in school in West Roxbury. We were doing a fundraiser for the public school. You know, you got to raise some
Right.
additional
I've done
money
that.
for stuff.
Yeah.
And Zoe came, and he killed by telling stories, not about the times when he played. He said, "Oh, it's about kids? Okay, I'll tell a story about kids." And he led with the story of his wife squatting over a pregnancy test strip in the CVS parking lot.
Well, he furiously ate egg salad sandwiches
to find out if she was pregnant. And my fellow parents and I were like,
how old were these kids?
well, the kids weren't there. It was the parents.
Oh, all right.
But they had trouble connecting the dots. Wait, why is he here? Why is he telling us that? Kids! We're talking about kids. I'll tell you something. My wife, I thought she was going to have kids. It was Stevie S. She said, I got to go right now. I said, well, we'll go. And I opened the doors. She did right there in the parking lot. How you doing? How you doing? Nice hat. Where'd you get that? The hat store?
No, he killed when he did the thing that I did.
happening?
And I was a Led Zeppelin on that thing. It's better than what I did. All right, look. There you go. We had a lot of fun.
All right. Jay King.
Have fun tomorrow. Have fun tonight.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Jay King is going to join us. He of the Celtics. He covers the Celtics. We'll talk to him in just a moment. And a couple guys, obviously, Porzingis didn't play. Jay King, hello, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Oh,
very sultry.
Yeah.
Now I'm engaged.
Go get him, kid.
Jay, what did you make anything out of last night's game?
It's another example that the competition is better this year. Last year, the Celtics won a championship without being tested. They won 64 games in the regular season, ran into no adversity. They go through the playoffs, don't lose more than one game in any series. And now you have Cleveland in the East, you have the Thunder in the West. There are teams that are just better positioned now to challenge the Celtics. And, just being good won't be good enough. They were good last night. They just weren't as good as the Thunder, who were great. And they just need to be sharper. They need to be better. The competition is better now.
Who were missing more last night? The Celtics with missing Porzingis, or with Oklahoma City missing the guys they were missing?
Williams and Caruso.
Yeah, it's obviously Jalen Williams is an all-star. Alex Caruso is one of the best defenders in the league as a guard. Porzingis in that matchup is so key because he's the one who can kill switches. He's the one who can get you the points in the paint when when the Thunder are trying their best to wall off the rim and force you to take threes. And Celtics, they shot 63 threes. I actually think most of those were good shots. Their offensive process was pretty good. But at the same time, you need to splice in some easier, more efficient shots. And that's what Kristaps does for them. He gives them a totally different dynamic with his post-ups, with his ability to score inside. And they don't always have that when he's gone. And so I think in that matchup especially, the way that Oklahoma City can kind of press on them a little bit, that Kristaps is necessary. And I think, he's missed 7 straight games now. Last year he missed half the playoffs. His availability is going to be more important now, I think, because he does give them ways to win that they don't really have without him.
Jay, are you hearing anything else about Porzingis? The mystery illness, the viral illness. I mean, he's on the bench. He looks to be okay.
Bizarre situation right now that's lasted a while, and I'm sure is very frustrating for him that they haven't really gotten a handle on it yet.
Going back to last night's game, if both these teams are healthy, if everyone is available, can the Celtics beat Oklahoma City 4 times to win a playoff series?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Oklahoma City's great, and you look at everything they've done this year, where they are wins-wise, their net rating, I believe, is still on pace to be the greatest in NBA history, better than any of the Chicago Bulls teams with Michael Jordan. And so you look at all they've done, you have to give them respect. That said, you get in a playoff series, I think the Celtics have some advantages. I think Tatum, with his size, is going to be tough for the Oklahoma City Thunder to match up against. Jaylen Brown, who was not good last night, will need to be a lot better and more efficient. But I think his size, his physicality can give them problems if he's right. And I mean, Oklahoma City's great. Chet Holmgren is fantastic. Isaiah Hartenstein gives them another layer of physicality. They're young, they're hungry. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is pretty much as good as it gets for a guard in the league, maybe as good as it gets for a guard in the league. And their defense is just giving everybody problems. They force a ton of turnovers. They get out in transition all the time. They're fantastic, but I still think, at the end of the day, experience is going to matter. The Celtics have that. The size is going to matter. They have that at every position, more so than even Oklahoma City does. And so I think those are things they can take advantage of in a playoff series if they do play Oklahoma City. But it's not going to be like last year where it was a cakewalk. I think last year the Celtics were head and shoulders better than everybody. And this year there are real challengers out there.
I look at that team, and Lou Dort is a great defensive player. Alex Caruso, a great defensive player. Chet Holmgren, a very good shot blocker. When Oklahoma City has both Holmgren and Hartenstein on the floor, that's something the Celtics don't see in the East. Not really. Cleveland can kind of do it, but it's not the same thing. I think I just can't get over watching those two matchups between the Celtics and Oklahoma City and seeing the Thunder run away at the end. I think that's a very tough ask to beat that team 4 times. I would push back on that a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe you're right, but also, the Celtics, they shot 5 for 27 from the three-point arc in the second half yesterday, and I think a lot of those were great shots. The Thunder ranked 29th in free throw attempt rate and took 35 free throws, which was tied it for a season high for them. So the Celtics, there were some things that they could have controlled if they had done a better job of keeping OKC off the glass. They had done a better job of keeping OKC off the free throw line. Maybe that's a different game. Or if they just hit a couple more threes. I do think they got a lot of great looks, including in that second half when their shots dried up. But OKC, they're phenomenal. That defense hit so hard. They're so fast. They can beat you off the dribble at any position, including their big guys. They all pass the ball well. That is a fantastic basketball team that doesn't have a lot of holes. And so you could be right. They could be the best team in the league. Celtics could be in trouble against them. But I do think in a playoff series, you can guard them a little differently. In a playoff series, you're going to be more focused in on the details, probably not giving up that many free throws to a team that doesn't get to the free throw line other than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And it would probably be a different series than last night was.
Yeah, but it certainly had a playoff feel to it last night, Jay. I mean, 2 good teams playing a really good game. Did you see anything that led you to believe that the Celtics still have another gear to find for the playoffs? I spotted a couple of things. Obviously, the defense was ramped up last night. Seemed like Jalen, lost the handle a couple of times. Obviously, he fouled out trying to guard SGA, but it seems like I noticed in watching that, that playoff level intensity, the Celtics need to find it a little bit before the playoffs actually start.
Yeah, and they've had a run here of playing great opponents. They've played the Cavs, the Nuggets, the Lakers, now the Thunder. They've had a run where they've played some of the top teams in the league. Cavaliers, that was a great game. Celtics go ahead 20 twice. Cavs just take it to the chin, come back. The Thunder, what impressed me most about the Thunder last night was that Celtics hit 15 threes in the first half. They were on pace to set the NBA record for most threes in a game. When they do that to teams, they go way ahead. They vault ahead of you. They leave you well behind them. The Thunder were up 3 at halftime. And so their ability to weather that storm of shot making, to protect the rim in a way that the Celtics couldn't score otherwise, to keep scoring during that onslaught, that was wildly impressive to me. The Celtics, I do think they've started to play more intense defense after, a couple months during the season where things weren't they weren't dialed all the way in. But like I said, the competition is better. It's going to be a different challenge now than it was a year ago, and the Cavaliers showed them that. The Thunder showed them that. There are just teams out there that are more complete and more productive than any team that they saw last year on their run to the finals.
Is there anyone else in the East that concerns you at all other than Cleveland?
I wouldn't be concerned with many other teams. The Knicks are good. They've shown no ability to stop the best offenses in the league, especially Boston's. I don't think there's anybody else out there. The Bucks would scare you because Giannis is so physically imposing, but the rest of that roster is not great. They haven't shown enough consistency to make me think that they have enough to challenge a team like Boston. I wouldn't be too concerned with anybody else, but I think Cleveland is a legit challenger, and everything Cleveland has done during this regular season suggests that they're for real.
Now, the Celtics schedule is not exactly a murderer's row for the rest of the season.
It's a lot easier from here on in.
I mean,
yes.
it's very easy, as a matter of fact. There's a couple of exceptions, but literally a couple. Is that a good thing or a bad thing going into the playoffs in your estimation? I guess it does, or does it not matter because the East is going to be kind of a cakewalk until the final?
I think it's a good thing. Jaylen Brown has been banged up lately. Al Horford, because Kristaps Porzingis has been out, has played a ton of minutes, and he's looked sensational. Al, the last couple of weeks, has been as good as he's been all season, and just lifting the level of his play. You've got to get Drew Holiday right. His finger is bothering him. You could see him wincing at times in the game against Oklahoma City. He's right now, to me, one of their potential playoff vulnerabilities. Last year, Drew Holiday was so good for them. And as the games went on, as they got deeper in the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals and Finals, he was just so great on both ends. This season, his shooting has gone. It has gone. And you can see teams guarding him in a way. They're daring him to shoot. They're giving him open shots. And that's totally different than it was last season when he was shooting 62% from the corners and he was knocking down seemingly every open shot. They need him to start making shots because the way teams can guard them just changes if he's not able to punish those strategies. So I think you got to get him healthy. You got to get him in the right frame of mind. Got to get him confident, get him going. And now you have, a month to do that against some teams that aren't great. And everybody else, get them their rest, get them fresh for the playoffs. Hopefully you can have another run in the Eastern Conference where you're not too physically told until at least the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland. Because, last year, one of the things in the finals against Dallas that was so important for the Celtics, they were just fresh. They didn't have, a bunch of 7-game series before that. They were able to get their rest and handle series much quicker than they have over the last few seasons. And I think that really added up and allowed them to be fresh and sharp in the finals.
All right, Jay King, read all his Celtics coverage in The Athletic. We appreciate the time, sir.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, appreciate it.
Jay.
All right, the Sixth Man is a contest we are doing now as we are in the dog days of the winter into spring. It's time to reward some of the people in our orbit. We will explain in just a moment. Here are the headlines. please. Celtics basically they got nothing left for the rest of the season. Last night was you play the Knicks, you play Memphis, but it's not the same as the Laker game or the Oklahoma City game. So
no, we're waiting for the playoffs as far as the Celtics are concerned.
Right, and the Bruins, that big trade line situation happened, and now it's settled down. Look, if they can sneak into the playoffs, that's fantastic. There's a lot of drama going around if Swayman got along with guys. Now I've heard people off air talking about how the team's got to figure out if people they have for the long haul are suited to be on this team for the long haul. So I don't know what's going on internally in that locker room, but it does seem like something's off. You would agree with that from what you've heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something is going on.
Something is weird going on there. Yes.
Yeah. And it seems to be almost. I wonder if it's centered around Swayman or if it's centered around McAvoy. Like, I don't know.
It would explain why, when the collection of talent was healthy, they were underachieving earlier this season.
Yeah, it does. And you heard Marchand's statements about Swayman, and we know now that he was annoyed that he was taking that public. We do know that. And then we know that Marchand turned down a seemingly good offer from the Bruins.
Mystifying.
So
yes.
that's interesting too. So there is
it's
not Pasternak in Marchand, I can tell you that.
It's too bad
they get along.
Too bad they traded their other goalie last year. Otherwise, we could say there's something rotten with the state of Hallmark.
Is he allowed to use that?
No. And what is the reference?
There's something rotten with the state of Allmark.
No, what is the Allmark?
You can't do the face too.
What does the Allmark thing have to do with anything?
No one has ever known. There's something rotten with the state of Denmark, but no one knows where it came from. Scholars have debated for years where the phrase originated from, but no one's ever been able to say for sure where.
Hamlet.
Oh, that's right.
All right, so
Thank
there
you,
is a
12.
definitive answer.
Thank you.
So there you go. That joke right there is a reason why this bit's happening. Is that when you run out of things to do,
what?
You are forced to.
The joke would have worked had 12 not explained it in Scott Zolak style.
that was Shakespeare. Get it?
Boy, that you just tagged it with something worse.
Yeah.
Than the original.
No,
joke.
I was imitating Zolak.
I understand what you were doing, John. It failed.
Oh, okay.
You have to admit, Hardy, that was if he's tagging your material, he's got to do a better job than that.
I feel awful.
All right, no need to backpedal.
Terrible.
If I need Wally to punch up my jokes, then maybe it's time just to
to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. You punched that up in a bad way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize.
So my point remains.
Slow time. And then when that happens, look, there are people in our orbit that are not members of the show, that are not paid members of the staff, that we certainly deal with on a fairly consistent basis. Now, we have assembled 6 of these people.
8 of these people.
8 of these people. That would make more sense. 8 of these people. And for the next few days, we are going to meet 2 of them a day, and then we are having a bracket of who our favorite, we're calling them our 6th man is.
Yes.
So you will not know one of these people unless you listen to the overnight show. Then you'll know him quite well. But in our lives, he is
omnipresent.
He is emailing us like you wouldn't believe. I've stopped reading the vast majority of them because it would occupy so much of my time.
Mornings, evenings, the evenings, weekends. It's a nonstop onslaught.
Yeah, and he calls into overnight shows and starts talking about me or the show, and it's all very odd. But he loves the show. He's very passionate about the show. And the other person that we're introducing today, we're not introducing at all, is someone that had no interest in the morning show until Hardy came on. This was someone who was completely midday show. And then Hardy brought them along with him. So today in our 6th man, we are having a competition, but really a celebration of two people that you might not know very well, but they're very, 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 very active in our lives. In fact, if I have not gotten back to an email that you've sent, that you can partially blame one of these contestants, if not both of them.
You could probably blame both. I would say their contributions, the majority of their contributions to the show are via emails.
Yes, and but you have there's numbers. It's like you have I
got them both.
But with one of them, the one he has the number of, and that he has talked to on the phone, there is a twist in there. Something, not with you, but a twist that with this person that I'm very interested in.
Okay.
Very interested.
Well, we'll get into that when we really get into this whole
when we dig
bracket
into it, when we get our hands dirty.
Oh yeah, because the teeth will be sunk into this starting in just a few minutes. And Fred, it's not us that are going to be deciding who our favorite is when it comes to the Toucher and Hardy sixth man. We are going to put that out to everybody in terms of determining who is the most valuable sixth man or woman on this show via a voting forum, which has never been done before. Never before has a radio program ever solicited voting via the internet in order to determine an outcome.
See, this show we found something called social media, in quotations.
Yes.
And we were going to implement social media.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of you are just getting introduced to it, but we are going to have a poll up on one of our social media, it's called, pages, which is really just a fun way for people to communicate on the internet. I can't foresee anything going wrong with it. It couldn't, change the country into an entirely polarized mess. But we will feed into the monster, and we will explain all of that in just a moment.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way. Boston. 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Celtics and Oklahoma City Thunder were tied at 98 in the fourth quarter last night, and then the NBA's MVP favorite took over.
Starts his drive, gets to the dotted line, turns, fades, and hits.
That boy is smooth as silk.
8 straight for the Thunder. They lead 106-98.
That is Sean Grandy and Cedric Maxwell here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And Oklahoma City got 34 points from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in a 118-112 win over the Celtics at TD Garden. They sweep the regular season series and officially clinch a playoff spot. Jason Tatum, 33 points for the Green. They'll be in Miami tomorrow night. Sportico reported yesterday the bidding for the Celtics appears to be down to 4 groups, one of which is led by the team's current minority owner, Steve Pagliuca. The other 3 include Philadelphia Phillies minority owner Stan Middleman, AS Roma and Everton Soccer Club owner Stan Friedkin, and the Symphony Technology Group owner, William Chisholm. Bruins visit Ottawa tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. In football news, the Patriots have re-signed safety Jalen Hawkins. Patriots free agents Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise have signed with the Washington Commanders. And former Patriots quarterback Mac Jones has signed with San Francisco. And the Red Sox won an exhibition game from Minnesota last night in Fort Myers, 6-5. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Service Credit Union. They've teamed with Charlie McAvoy again this season for 73 reasons to defend New England's first responders. Visit servicecu.org/73. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app, the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues.
A couple of people we're not counting as full people.
Yeah.
And one of the, I mean, all right, we'll say it, Nick, with all the artificial valves and things going on in his body.
Yeah, he relies so much on science.
He can't count as a full person, and Ryan Beaton doesn't weigh enough to count as a full person.
So together they're half.
So it's like the 2.5 men theory.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's a whole competition, and we are calling it 6-man. We can't change it now, Fred.
Nope.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
Toucher and Hardy features Fred Toucher with Hardy and Wallach too. Adam 12 and Nick and Ryan. But the most important person is you. 6-man.
The New Woke Order.
6-man.
I'm totally blind, by the way.
6-man.
A lot of people are going, ooh, oh.
6-man. 6
is a very seductive number.
Wow.
All right, Hardy, it is an effort. They're going to be voting up on the Toucher and Hardy Instagram page for 24 hours. And it will be between these 2 contestants. Let's not wait. Let's meet our first one now. Who do we got?
All right, up first in the Toucher and Hardy 6-man competition.
Who knows what's going on? He's someone I've never met, to my knowledge. Have we met Blind Scott?
I went to Pucks and Paddles in 2014, but I don't think I met you. I'll crush Sarah from Everett. Everett's a garbage hole, man. It's a paved parking lot, literally. She thinks she's, like, real wealthy and, like, some elite person. She used to call the Zolak show. She don't like you, Fred. She's a dog walker. She brags how tall her boyfriend is. She says his thing is like 21 CMs, you know? Like, this person is trash. Like, I'm a celebrity radio caller. I call into so many radio shows. I'm known everywhere. I got a Reddit page named after me. I'm up all night on the Ben Maller show. This is the competition whatsoever, dude. This is total garbage. You know what I mean?
I fear, Scott, first of all, you're going on the attack. You're going very negative in the campaign, which is your decision. But I fear that you may be spreading yourself too thin. If you are really, truly campaigning to be the Toucher and Hardy 6th man, how can you assure us that you'll devote all your energies to this show when you are a multiple show celebrity caller?
Well, I'm already producing the show. That's why I send all the emails. This neighborhood sucks. I live in the North End. The people here are ignorant rednecks. This country is run by ignorant rednecks. I don't go outside without putting a hood on. You know what I mean? I'm dedicated to Toucher and Hardy. Fred's like Isabella Gardner. He's such an inspiration to the blind. There's Isabella Gardner, there's Fred, and there's Helen Keller. Those are the three biggest inspirations. Like, Boston is so hard for blind people. They should put a wall around Boston. They literally brought blind people in from all over the world here. You can't get a job. Affirmative action chased blind people into unemployment around here. This city is overrun by morons. And then you got Sarah and Everett and these idiot white trash people that drive in from New Hampshire, and they park their trucks in front of the subway. They park it on the sidewalks. And, they say, oh, what do you want me to do? It's like, yo, I'm blind. I'm from here. I live here. You can't walk around without falling on your face. I dedicate myself to radio because radio is dying. The caller is dying in radio. You call this show.
Can you imagine that this guy has emailed me 15 times? You wouldn't think it in the last 24 hours. It's hard to imagine that Blind Scott, this same guy, who's so composed, has had enough to say to email me 15 times in the last 24 hours.
That surprises me.
You think he's still talking?
I could tell you muted me.
Yeah, I had to mute you for a second. So
I'm a professional caller. Of course I could tell.
Yeah, that's right. You're no fool. Now, Blind Scott, how long have you been calling the Ben Maller Show? Have you ever met him?
Yeah, we've met like 3 times. We had a meet and greet at Bovis Bakery, and the listener we met, too, he died in like a car crash right after. It was like a couple months after. It was wicked traumatic. I've been calling radio for about 16 years. I used to call Rush Limbaugh before he died. I call that bozo on night side. I do prank calls. I collect. I used to be an accountant. I went to Suffolk University. I collect a maximum rate of disability. I can run my own life. My family does no contact with me. I don't care. You know what I mean? That's why I've latched on to Fred and Hardy. This group, this is my community. I got kicked out of the socialist group on Beacon Hill. I had these ideas. You know what I mean? They took away.
Let's slow down. Okay, so you're estranged from your family, you're saying?
Yeah, my mom still helps me, but the rest of my dad calls the show, but I'm estranged from them. We just don't agree. Like, you know what, like the Kennedys are like when everybody fights in the Kennedy family, it's kind of like how it's like a large.
You're like the Kennedys of the North End.
Boy, this estrangement is a real epidemic in the North End. It's happening to multiple people.
Yeah, my dad's my landlord, so I would say like Adolfo could stay here when he comes into town. It's accessible. I'm in the North End. I get access to hundreds.
How about this? Adolfo will stay with you when he's here.
Yeah, I got in a bed. I sleep on the couch because I do radio phone calls all day and all night. I just catch a nap here and there while I'm on hold. I'll stay on hold for 4 hours, anything to get my content on the air because I have so much to offer.
What's the couch radio? I'm sorry, Scott. What's the couch radio connection? Why couldn't you do that from the bed?
Oh, you feel sick like an invalid in bed. I got a Peloton here. I work out. I do everything I can. I judge people by who I think they vote for politically. I don't talk to you if I think you vote for someone or someone else, but I want to be famous and I'm willing to bend the rules and just accept hate because I want to be famous. I want to be part of this show. And I think I have a lot to offer this show. I think some of the guests on this show really suck,
Like who sucks? Who's the guest that
Phil
sucks?
Perry puts you to sleep. Phil Perry, he's like, his father or something? Is he like a triple eagle or something? Like, I got to take a nap when he comes on.
He'll be on in an hour. You'll be napping at 9 a.m.
Yeah, about 50 minutes from now.
Get ready to take a nap at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I could get some shares of the company or something on the stock market while you're at it for free or something. I don't want to get paid because I don't want it to affect my Medicare or my Mass Health or my disability payments. I don't want to mess that up.
So you got kicked out of the Socialist Club of Boston?
Yeah, Socialist Alternative Group. These punks, dude, now that I get to say this, they're like a little college, they're like trust fund babies, like they're the modern day, like Grateful Dead people, you know what I mean? I show up, I try to push my agenda on them, which is disability. I like to listen to Karl Marx and stuff, and they're all about the union, the Amazon place down in Kentucky, and union this, union that. Last time I seen the unions, they just is in favor of ignorant rednecks as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So,
Blind Scott, I find it hard to believe that you went to a meeting for something and then they told you not to come back.
10,000 AA meetings, Fred. I heard you talking about Kitty Dukakis. I'm like, that's an AA thing he's talking about.
No. That's absolutely not true. But we were friends with someone who had been married into the Dukakis
Oh,
family.
well, well, I shouldn't say that on the air.
No, but
everybody knows
that's
in the
not
80s,
fair. But that's not
in the
fair.
80s, you
I
could
did
just
not meet her at an
Google it.
AA meeting. That's absolutely not true. And I wouldn't have said that, Scott.
I did. Well, I met her at an AA
if you went to
meeting.
10,000 AA meetings, you should know I wouldn't bring up meeting. And why would she have hurt my daughter's hand at an AA meeting? My daughter's 14. She's not in AA.
Oh, this is another
I am a drunk, but my daughter's not.
Yeah, but you have like a real recovery story, so I figured like they were like, let's grab onto this guy, like, because you're real smart. So I thought that
now you got me back.
Take you under your wing. You know what I mean? That's how I figured you met them. You know.
But first of all, good news. If shares in the company you want, that's great. I mean, we'll pull together $40-$50. We'll get you 1,000 shares right now.
You could be a majority owner.
I can't have too many.
We're killing the NASDAQ.
Scott,
get more than $2,000, I lose my health insurance. I got to keep it low.
If by some strange turn of events this campaign doesn't work out for you, would you accept a position in another department, perhaps as an ambassador to the Sports Hub Golf Club? You've already been a guest on the show. Would you consider that?
Yeah, take an internship. I mean, I would reveal. There's a twist about me. I'd reveal it, but I think it would just make me lose. I'd get crushed by the garbage from Everett that lives in a parking lot that think they're rich. You know?
Wait, there's a twist to your story?
Well, no, there's a twist about me. You know what I mean? Like, but there's no point. I mean, I talk to you guys about it all the time, but there's no point in revealing it. You know, dude, people are offering me to go to the Netherlands. What
is the twist like? Scary? Is it like a M. Night Shyamalan twist? What kind of twist are we talking about?
Oh yeah, no, but I've been so one of the biggest reasons that attracted me to Fred Toucher was he was friends with Jim Norton, and Jim Norton dates like a trans woman, and I've been transitioning for like the past 10 years. So I was like, figured this was a good enough community because it's tough out there for people that are LGBTQ, and I thought like. Maybe since even Fred left his wife, that maybe Fred was gay too, you know?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that does make sense.
One is almost always connected to the other.
And then Heidi wears Heidi wears those pink hats around everywhere. And he goes to the pink hat march in the Commons.
How do you know what color my hats are?
Good question.
Yeah, Scott, now you're just talking out of your ass.
Adam 12 is like a regular green thumb, you know? He's like, he's great, you know, and John Wallach, he's old, has nice teeth, doesn't say much. His wife's an accountant. Nick, you can't figure out what's up with Nick, though. I call all the time. Nick shuts you down. My favorite person is Ryan Beaton, though. Ryan Beaton is really nice, you know, and,
he's a nice guy.
I like Kendra Middleton, too. She's a lesbian or bisexual. She's good, you know. I like that. I don't like when the show gets going, Zolak, it gets into like this weird feel like it gets Zolak and then this guy from Wisconsin, Michael Felger. And then you get the guy who needs to go to Overeaters Anonymous at night that just eats uncontrollably and it's disgusting. And it just seems like he's going to take a heart attack any day and somebody should just step in and tell him like, we got to get you on a sponsorship or something, you know?
Well, Scott, you certainly have a lot to say and many, many opinions and a lot going on in your own life, which is very exciting. You were kicked out of the Socialist Club. You were in a 10-year transition phase. There is so much about you that is fascinating. You're certainly someone that can fill time. I will give you that. Scott, thank you so much, Blind Scott. And we look, don't be a stranger. I don't know if 15 emails is necessary, but certainly don't be a stranger.
Yeah, and give us a call every once in a while. You know,
Scott.
Nick doesn't put me on the air. I talk to Nick all the time. He doesn't put me through. I think he hates my guts.
No, Nick's instructions are to put everyone through, and then just give you a heads up.
I got a handicap parking pass. You guys can park for free if you want to come over anytime.
I mean, consider it done then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can give me a handicap parking pass, I mean, why wouldn't I come over? All right, listen, Scott, thank you so much. Thanks, Scott.
All right, we'll talk to you, Scott.
Sure
Good luck.
Some votes. If I don't win, I'm never calling the Ben Maller show ever again.
Well, don't do that to Ben Maller. He loves you. All right, thank you, Scott. There you go. He listens to the show a lot. The Kitty Dukakis story of her hurting my daughter's hand while shaking it. I like how he. If she's, I guess, is she like yeah. She's like recovering or something.
I believe so.
All right, that he goes like, well, obviously, like that was at an AA meeting. I just want to make that clear. That's not true.
You mean you didn't bring your teenage daughter to an AA meeting?
Even if I would, I wouldn't
Could have been.
go tell a story about what happened at it.
Could have been Al-Anon. You don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it could have been a whole thing. All right. Well, look, Blind Scott put on a show. He is very. And now Sarah doesn't run that hot.
No.
He kind of let the cat out of the bag, but he's going to be going up against Sarah from Everett.
Yeah, and I love this this matchup between these two because it's the yin and the yang. There's going to be a real balancing act going on here between what we just heard from Scott and what Sarah's going to bring to the table.
You know a Venn diagram? So you have a Venn diagram of Blind Scott and a Venn diagram of Sarah from Everett. You know where they meet? The words meandering. That is what they both do.
Right.
And so we will hear from Sarah Everett. One thing I want to, on the phone.
Oh. Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Because Blind Scott was not invited in.
Fred Toucher, he's a single guy.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't want to date the best guy in radio.
Oh, that's him on the Ben Maller show. Yeah, he was trying to get the girl on the show to date me. She lives in Los Angeles, but his plan was to get her to date me. Which I'm more than happy. Blind Scott can go be matchmaker. Get me someone from that socialist club of yours. That sounds like a real hotbed. That sounds like a hotbed of some. Now I know where the elite rub elbows. All right, I can't believe they kicked you out. All right, we'll be back. Sarah from Everett will make her case in just a moment. Our, oh, you just want to play the intro again?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, let's do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sex. Toucher and Hardy features Fred Toucher with Hardy and Waller too. Adam 12 and Nick and Ryan. But the most important person is you. Sick man.
The New Woke Order.
Sick man.
I'm totally blind, by the way.
Sick man.
A lot of people are going, ooh, oh.
Sick man.
6 is a very seductive number.
Wow.
So we met Blind Scott, who many of you have never heard before, but we hear him all the time. And he came on, he's very polarizing. The early results via email, not positive for Blind Scott, but he was taking chances going negative, you know? So that's the first of 8. Not all of them are like Blind Scott, I will have you know. Some of them are seductors. Some of them are very happy people. There's a lot of that. But if you listen to the show and you listen to the midday show, now this person's interesting. Why don't you rack it up, Hardy, and play the intro of a woman walking several dogs in my neighborhood, and I thought it might have been you.
No, it wasn't me.
I almost said something, but I
Okay.
did not. But you will say something the next time you see me. You will just not walk from afar and judge.
Yeah, as long as you're not judgy.
Well, you're judging to me.
No, I'm not. No, I'm afraid of you.
Why?
Because you just are very critical, and I would be nervous. I'd hate to hear something negative come out of you.
Yeah.
All right,
your mouth.
so Sarah, you think in my regular life, when I'm walking around, if I see people on the street, I start being very critical of them?
No. I don't know.
So I'm a psychopath, is what you're saying? That I just walk. I have kids. You think I just walk around like yelling and screaming and insulting
No, what
people?
I'm saying is I don't want to meet you and then you go on the air and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
That's a valid concern.
Good
and
call.
Anything that happens, Fred will take to the air. So you're justified in all these feelings, Sarah.
Now,
Don't you worry about
are you
that.
afraid that I would be critical of what you look like?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do that. What do you think I would do? That I would meet you and then I would come on the air and I would insult your looks?
Yeah. Say something like, oh, there was no way I was staring at her that day. You definitely were. So.
Yeah. Right. I was staring at you. I couldn't get enough of you. Now, this is my whole thing with the gym and the people with the TikToks at the gym.
Yeah.
You're staring at me.
Sarah, what do you expect? You're prancing around town walking a bunch of dogs.
Yeah, maybe it was 100 dogs you were walking.
Yeah, maybe you're dying for people to stare at you.
Yes, I am.
You're
Yes.
asking for it, Sarah. All right.
I was asking for it.
All right, because that's interesting because one of the things about this, Sarah, now Sarah emails a lot. She calls in. Sometimes she's very high, and she meanders around. She doesn't sound high this morning.
No, normally that's a dummy gummy
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesdays she eats a bunch of gummies, and then she meanders around. When you were gone, Hardy, she was all
I
over
eat
the
a
place.
half a gummy.
All right, well, whatever. You have zero tolerance then. All right,
Yes, I do.
And then, but we asked you. We did not ask Blind Scott to come in. I'll have you know. But we did.
Okay.
We did ask you to come in. Were you afraid to come in because you thought I'd be judgmental of you?
No, it was just I'm working. So today wasn't a good day. I had actually sent Hardy an email and volunteered to go in on Tuesday, and I didn't realize this was I didn't realize Scott had so much hatred towards me. I had to
it would have been
go
anyway.
pick him up. I'd offered to go pick him up in the North End, and we could take an Uber together.
No, you're not going to do that.
I replied to you last night. It's very nice. It was already set. We weren't going to change things, and we certainly weren't going to do that second time.
No, you're not going to. There's a liability. This is a publicly traded company, Sarah, and we do have souls and morals. There is no way that you would be picking up a Blind Scott in any way, shape, or form. We cannot vouch for the safety of that. But here is the thing: if you happen to be Blind Scott by some miracle, he made such a good impression on everyone. If you happen to meet Blind Scott, would you come into the studio?
Sure.
Okay,
yes.
you would.
Yes.
Would you be very nervous?
Very. I'm very nervous right now. So.
Okay, but Sarah, you haven't been nervous in other areas of your life. For instance, when you allegedly, reportedly, by your own statements, went to prom with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Would you care?
I didn't go with Matt Damon. It was Ben Affleck. My best friend in high school dated him all through high school and into college. They dated like on and off for like 10 years. So, and we went on a triple date, him with my friend and me with my date and another couple. There were 6 of us.
Now, did you swing that evening?
No, no.
Because you
No.
say triple date, and the mind goes into if partners were exchanged.
No, that was a different prom.
Okay. So, did you ever hook up with Matt Damon or Ben Affleck?
No. But we used to go over to their house, and they would go get marijuana, and they would ask us to watch Casey while we were gone. They were gone.
Really? Now, did you think they were like they had a certain charisma to them?
No, I didn't really like Ben at all. I thought he was kind of a jerk. He was very
Ben
pompous.
Affleck? Yeah. You didn't like him.
Yeah.
How was Casey? Was he a little rascal? Was he like Calvin and the babysitter, or was he a mild-mannered kid, easy to watch?
He was very mild-mannered, yeah. He was very good kid.
Are
Very
you the Mimi Driver character in the movie that they wrote?
No.
Were they tough street kids from Cambridge?
No. I used to go watch them compete in drama.
Yeah. It sounds like quite a hard upbringing. Now, did they have terrible Boston accents when they grow up, or is that an affectation used in interviews?
No accent. Ben actually had a lisp. Lisp.
All right, there you go. So you're saying they're putting on the Boston accent?
Yes.
That's
they are.
shocking. That's shocking.
So Scott chose to go negative right away in his campaigning, railing against you in the city of Everett.
Okay.
Are you taking the high road, or would you like to defend yourself or your town?
Well, I mean, I was shocked. I didn't know that's what we were doing today.
No.
I will say I can't see. I mean, that's, if there's anything positive, if I can say anything mean. But I don't like to even say that. And I
Ladies and gentlemen, it's over. She can see.
She has the power of sight.
Wow.
She has the power of sight, which blind Scott has been robbed of. Congratulations, Sarah from Everett. You've won.
I can bribe you guys. I got Fred a Dr. Octagon T-shirt. I'll send it on.
Oh, you picked that up specifically for me?
Yes, you're a fan, right?
Yeah, I am a fan of Dr. Cool Keith.
Yeah.
Of course.
And you tried to give Adam a car, which he rejected. I hope you don't feel spurned by that.
No. I think we're gonna give it to my boyfriend's niece, so it all worked out.
All right. And you met your boyfriend where?
The heavy metal karaoke at the Bell in Hand in 2007.
Yeah, which was a Toucher and Rich event, correct?
Yes, and Fred, you and Rich introduced me to Hardy because I followed you guys from BCN, and then I started listening to the midday show, and that's how I discovered Hardy. So I've always been involved. I've been with you guys from the beginning, or with you.
Is there a part of you that's in love with Hardy?
No, he reminds me of my father. So if I have daddy issues, maybe.
Do you have daddy issues? Do you have a good relationship with your father?
No.
You don't, do you?
I'm like,
so you are attracted to Hardy.
I'm like 2 years older
And
than you.
my dad's a contractor.
Ooh.
Oh.
You could marry into that family.
Oh, good save.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
All right. I like your dad. I'm not so sure about you anymore.
No, I don't. I don't have feelings for you, Hardy. I just find you remind me of my best friend, who you guys have the same humor. Very dry.
That's what you want to hear every girl say. You
Yeah.
remind me of my best friend.
Best friend or father. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
two
Either
punch.
or.
Father, there's some advantages too. Best friend, not so much.
Sarah, going forward, should you win the Hardy, Toucher and Hardy, a 6-man or woman, as the case may be, title, how would you contribute to the show in the future?
However you guys want me to.
We could finally lay eyes on you because every picture you send is an old picture that doesn't have your face in it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is there something going on that you don't want us to see your face? Why is such a mystery?
I'm just older now, so I don't like to take my picture. So, and my friends call me the Jim Carrey of photographs because I make these stupid looks whenever I take a picture.
How old are you, Sarah?
I'm 52.
52? You're older than me. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonk, wonk.
You're older, and
You're her dad. Yeah.
Remind her of her dad.
Good for you.
Awesome.
There you go.
No, come on.
All right, Sarah. Well, listen. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Can I tell a blind joke?
No. So I don't think that's a good idea. After we just had a blind guy on,
It's very friendly. It's a
that's
friendly
great,
joke.
Sarah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry you're gonna have to get out of here without your blind joke, but there you go.
Wow.
I can't figure out Sarah from Everett. Very strange.
You telling me she's a little all over the place?
She always sounds very busy. She's doing like 10 other things. I don't know if she's walking dogs at this moment, but.
Well, it's going to be a tough call for the listeners. Tough call.
I don't think so. I think the listeners are firmly on the side of Sarah.
I was trying to help. All right.
No, I don't
Probably
think that.
not going to be a tough call.
Well, I mean, you know that Blind's got some kind of algorithm or something, some kind of machine that can vote over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But Adam, if people want to vote for this, how do they do so?
Nick, I literally was just asking Nick if it is going live, and he was pressing the post button. If you're following Toucher and Hardy on Instagram, we have a 24-hour poll that you can now utilize to vote for either Blind Scott or Sarah from Everett, and we will give results right around this time on tomorrow's show.
So what do we know is we know that if you vote for Blind Scott, he comes on again.
Yes.
And if you vote for Sarah from Everett, she comes in studio, and we can finally,
Also,
as a
yes.
gift to us, lay eyes on her because it's been such a mystery. It's like one of those late-night disc jockeys that they did the commercials where they wouldn't show their face because I'm whoever you want me to be.
That's right.
Bedtime Magic with David Allen Boucher.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you look like? I look like anything you want me to look like. Yeah, now here is Leo Sayer with whatever song he performed. So there you go. As we move on, we will get other people in our orbit that we have. This is the most random of the matchups, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I would
This is
agree.
by far the most random because you guys don't know Blind Scott probably at all. And Sarah
I'm
from
totally
Everett.
blind, by the way, if anybody doesn't know.
Yeah, and Sarah from Everett, you probably don't know either, but she.
Max rolls, extra dipping sauce.
Yeah, these are. Yeah, they're both odd, but here's the deal: is that they both are so much a part of our lives, but we've never met either of them. Now, Blind Scott, I don't think we ever will meet, but we will
You don't
meet.
want to date the best guy in radio?
Yeah, that's right. He was trying to get me a girlfriend, and I do appreciate it. So there you go. You can vote right now at Toucher and Hardy on Instagram. We'll meet two more of our contestants tomorrow.
Now, we'll meet the two more contestants on Monday.
Oh, on Monday.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll give results for this matchup tomorrow, and then we'll bring in two more.
Yeah, easy.
However you want to do it. We'll all right, let's pump
Taking
the
our
brakes.
time
then.
with this one.
We'll take our time.
Bracket season, baby.
All right, very good. We will have all of that at Toucher and Hardy on Instagram. Follow that. We will be back here at the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
in your
Seldom
day.
right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
The only thing that's like really on the record and is known is, like you mentioned, Steve has put it out there. He put it out there within hours that he's interested in becoming the new majority owner. Look, he has obviously a great relationship with Whip, great relationship with his family. It would be logical, but what's to say someone comes over the top with an extra $1 billion?
I'm in person.
I think you should not look at it. You should see it for the first time in person.
Okay, but I have it. Okay, so I won't look at it. I appreciate the listeners sending it to me.
I don't think you should.
I really do appreciate that. Thank
Send
you.
it to you or send it to Nick?
He called Nick and telling him he had sent it to me.
Emailed it to Fred.
So I do appreciate that, and I appreciate all your emails. But I will not look at it unless she doesn't come in, and then I will look at it. Because I'm getting all kinds of news articles that Blind Scott's in. They're not bad.
There's a good shot she's going to make it in because the poll's been up for about 10 minutes and she's already got like an 80 to 20%.
Yeah, she's going to win.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if she comes in, she has to come in.
I mean, the good news is I think Blind Scott will handle this very well if he loses.
Blind Scott somehow thinks he's getting a trip to Las Vegas if he wins. There's no prize for this.
No, this is just an exercise in bracketology on the show.
Yeah, he said something on Twitter, like he's got some Twitter account, Sabrina or something, and he said that he gets a trip for Vegas. No, Scott, you get nothing. There's no prize. The prize is the recognition. That's all. Don't worry about winning. Scott, don't trouble yourself with winning. You've already won. You got on the air, basically uninterrupted for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you get on the air a lot, and this by no means excludes anyone from participating in the show going forward.
Yeah, Scott, you can call in whenever you want. You got a green light.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't take you, I don't take you, but you should call in every show if you want. That's better than emailing, I can tell you that. Calling the show is always better than emailing. If you want to insult us, do it on the air. It's better than emailing. The emailing is just, it gets lost in the shuffle. Adam coming in played a clip of who's going to buy the Celtics next. Honestly, who cares? Who knows who these billionaires are? What the hell difference does it make? Like we talked about it before the show. It's like, do you want to do a break? And I know what you played, but it's like, you want to do a break talking about the new owners. What do I care who buys the Celtics?
There's only one. There's one piece of it. Because all of these salaries are so bloated and there are draconian penalties coming, if Pagliuca wins, Pagliuca winds up buying the Celtics, maybe he will keep the team together. But a new owner.
Well, then he'd be a moron.
Well, that's a valid statement. But at the same time, if you want the Celtics to stay where they are, if you want to hold this team together, penalties be damned, Pagliuca is your best bet.
I got news for you. You know why the team is this way? It's because the guy making the decisions had very little stake in it. It was the guy with the stake in its son, and that's why the team's being sold right now. If I bought this team, it would be to be loved. And because I love sports. And so I would be going in with the best intentions. If I bought the Celtics and we're facing these penalties, I'm not paying them. I'm moving salary around. You'd have to be a maniac. If the new owner comes in and they have to make changes. Now, I'm not talking about getting rid of Tatum or Brown or anything, but they have to move Holiday and Porzingis and that stuff, and you kill them for it, you do the same thing. I mean, what's the tax apron? Like, what are they? It's like ridiculous what they have to pay.
They're way beyond it. They're in a process now where they might have first-round picks frozen in the future. I mean, this is the repeater tax. They're right on the doorstep of it. So, yeah, after this year or after next year, I forget which it is, the penalties start kicking in. They have some serious problems to work out. The window is right now. If they're going to win, it has to be this year.
And unfortunately, part of the fan base is going to blame the new owner because right when they buy the team, they're going to have to make the changes.
Yep.
But we knew this. We knew this last year. We knew this is your championship window with this particular team, not with Tatum and Brown. They'll be the next 10 years, but or whatever, even more. But, as it goes with the lineup as it is, with Porzingis and Holiday and White and all that stuff, this is it. You knew that.
Yep.
And do you really want to? Does the audience even really want us to get into a game of pretending to know anything about these billionaires?
Only if it. I tell you the one that would interest me, and that is the what's his name from Amazon. What the hell?
Bezos, but he's not one of the finalists.
Right. And that would interest me because the early talk with Bezos is that, well, the first thing he's going to want is his own arena, and that would get us down the road talking about where you would actually go to watch the Celtics, because in terms of how it impacts me, I'm kind of with you, Fred. Like, what do I care? It's not going to affect me one way or the other unless it changes where I go to watch Celtics games.
Right.
And if there's another venue in town, then yes, that affects me.
And to be honest with you, if they're building another venue in town, to get permission from the town and to get permission from the city and get the tax money, because they're not going to want to pay for it. So to get the tax thing, we might be dead by the time the new arena is built.
There have been a lot of people who have tried and failed to get things built in this city.
I mean, the Crafts can't get something built in this city.
Yep.
But they couldn't extend Fenway. They couldn't even make Fenway better.
I know. They had a whole plan 25 years ago to build the new Fenway right next to the old one. No chance.
And all of a sudden, that property value went through the roof. And now you're not building anything around there.
There used to be a hotel. There used to be a Howard Johnson's right next
I know
to
it.
Fenway. Oh, okay. The Howard Johnson's there. And wouldn't you know it, the second they announced plans for the new foundation and building a new Fenway, the guy's like, well, you know what? I was just going to make renovations on this, so this is what the property is truly about.
Unfortunately now, John, to get past, for both of us, because we're getting old, to get past my time here, you have to go back quite a ways. I know Howard Johnson.
I keep forgetting.
I've been here 20 years.
I know.
I'm familiar with what. I mean, 20 years.
It's a while.
I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else.
I figured that out about myself the other day, and I passed that a while ago.
I was 17 years in Detroit, 4 years in Orlando, and 8 years in Atlanta.
This whole Fenway thing was about 4 or 5 years before you showed up.
Yeah, I know, but I was aware of what was going on.
The city was talking about taking land through eminent domain. All the Fenway people didn't like that at all.
I was used to. There was a garage where people would work out right across from Fenway. Now, I mean, I was here when Rucker knew where to park.
That's a while ago.
That was a while ago. So anyway, good luck building a new arena. Anyway, is my point.
Okay, so what may happen? You're off a couple of days next week, Fred.
Yeah.
Okay. Wallach and shared this Sportico story with us, and I've read half of it so far. But between Pagliuca and the Friedkin group and the Freedom Mortgage guy and all this stuff, there may be something there. We might sink our teeth into it, even talk to the guy who wrote this one day next week when you're not here.
You don't have to. If you guys want to book him when I'm here, I don't have any objection to it. It's just I don't have anything to say on the matter. Like I can't pretend to know the ins and outs of the business. All I know is whoever buys the team is getting rid of players.
All I want to know is the timeline for when it's actually going to happen, where Wick Grousbeck seems to be under this misguided feeling that he's going to be involved. If Pagliuca buys the team, Wick Grousbeck is staying. I think if any of those other three groups buy the team, he's gone.
Oh, I don't know if Wick Grousbeck's staying with any real decision making.
No. He'll be a figurehead, but at least he'll be here. I think if any of the other three groups buy the Celtics, that won't be the case. And obviously, if any of the other three groups buy the Celtics, they're going to try and push hard for a new arena, because what new owner has no say-so in where his team plays?
Have you met both Grousbeck and Pagliuca?
I have not met Pagliuca. I've met Wick Grousbeck.
But isn't it interesting? Because if you meet the two of them, you would think Pagliuca would be the guy that would be the face of the franchise. Like, he's almost charismatic, which I can't say about Wick Grousbeck.
Oh, I can say. I think Wick is friendly enough, and
he's friendly enough. He's fine, but I think the general consensus is Pagliuca is the more socially adjusted of the two.
He actually, you remember, he tried to run for governor at one point.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm a little surprised that Wick Grousbeck is the face of the franchise, to be honest with you. And especially now that there's no humiliation there, having it right after the championship, having the rug pulled out from under you.
And if he has his say, will still be for 2-3 more years. This is still the deal they want. 51% gets sold now, and he stays in control until the transaction closes in 2028.
The 49%, the rest of it is 2028. That's remarkable.
Yeah,
that's something.
Yeah. Well, let's see what his dad says. All right, we'll be back.
I'm going to sell you my bike. but only I want a little more than half of the money for the bike right now. I'm going to ride it for 2 more years. And when you pay me the rest, then you get the bike.
Yeah, that's not happening. All right, we'll be back. Phil Perry will join us to talk about the Patriots.
They know what they want to do on both ends. It's a lot of fun. This is a high-level game against two really good teams with a bunch of good players out there.
Celtics will play 8 of their next 9 on the road, starting with a visit to Miami tomorrow night. Sportico reported yesterday the bidding for the Celtics franchise appears to be down to 4 groups, one of which is led by the team's current minority owner, Steve Pagliuca. The other 3 include Philadelphia Phillies minority owner Stan Middleman, AS Roma and Everton Soccer Club owner Dan Friedkin, and Symphony Technology Group owner William Chisholm. The next round of bids is due at the end of the week. Bruins visit Ottawa tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Patriots have re-signed safety Jalen Hawkins to a 1-year contract. Patriots free agents Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise have signed with the Washington Commanders, and former Patriots quarterback Mac Jones has signed with San Francisco. And the Red Sox beat Minnesota last night 6-5 in Fort Myers. They visit the Mets in Port St. Lucie, Florida today. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning. With over 50 trucks on the road, because your clogged drain is their emergency, go to johnsewer.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
I think some of the guests on this show really suck, you know?
Like who sucks? Who's the guest that
Phil
sucks?
Perry puts you to sleep. Phil Perry, he's like, you know his father or something? Is he like a triple eagle or something? Like, I got to take a nap when he comes on.
He'll be on in an hour. You'll be napping at 9 a.m.
Yeah, in about 50 minutes from now.
Get ready to take a nap at 9.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you got introduced that way, Phil, because that's Blind Scott coming at you.
Coming at me, hot. Coming at me.
No. No one ever says stuff like that about us, so I would feel pretty...
Driving into the studio today, feeling pretty good about my morning. Things have been going well. And then that.
Yeah,
Feels like the nicest guy, too. I don't understand
Then you got Blind Scott bringing the hammer down.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Phil Perry is here. He's very, very boring.
Very.
And that's why we pay him to come in. He covers the Patriots for NBC Sports Boston. Of course, we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And if you would like to see Phil and us speak, you may do so live on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub, and then you can subscribe. Blind Scott is going up against Sarah from Everett as we are doing our 6-man contest. And this is the most random of all the matchups, I will reiterate. You guys don't know who these people are probably, but we certainly do. They every time I open my email, I know who Scott is. He's got something to say. Not always do I read it, but 15 times in the last 24
But the nice thing
hours.
is you don't have to open it up because, again, he'll put the entire content of the email in the subject line.
Yeah, but sometimes that's so long that it doesn't even show up on the, like, you would have to open the email to read it.
True. But you get the gist of it.
Yeah, I get the gist of it. It's him typing angrily. It's what the gist of it is. All right, so look.
I wish him luck, by the way.
Well,
I wish him all the luck in the world.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Well, you're
Happy
very
for him and
magnanimous.
the opportunity that he's getting.
You're very magnanimous, and that don't bring in ratings, my friend. You got to be more of a dick.
Read the room, man.
Yeah, seriously. All right, so here's the deal. We know what is the big names in free agency. Obviously, there's still work to be done. And by the way, can I, if I may, I know this annoys people, but can I congratulate the Jets for signing Okorafor, the lineman from the Patriots who can't block. That was Scott trolled me with that yesterday. He texted me and he said, "How about your Jets?" And I'm like, oh, a guy who sucked for the Patriots on the worst offensive line in the league.
He's going to replace Morgan Moses at right tackle.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
No?
There's no way. I can't. Probably, but I can't think
He found his love for football again. He's going to go to New York and rediscover joy.
Well, he's going to finally get in an organization that knows what they're doing. He's finally going to work for an owner that's in Woody Johnson that is, got his finger on the pulse of the league. All right, so there you go. There's your Jets minute, and that's over now. All right, give us your take on the Patriots free agency so far.
Yeah, I think they went where the market took them, right? So they obviously still have glaring needs at left tackle and receiver, and I think people are still wondering where that help is going to come from, and I understand that because there's not a whole lot of options out there that are as good as what the Patriots need. But when you have the amount of money that they had and you have the number of holes that they had, you can kind of go and, to use their word, pivot to other positions. So to get Milton Williams, to get Carlton Davis, to get Robert Spillane and Morgan Moses, like these guys are all starters. So they're better now than they were a week ago. Are they good? I would say TBD. You're still missing, I would say, arguably two of the most important positions on any team right now, which is a number one receiver and a left tackle.
Okay, yeah, and beyond the quarterback and protecting the quarterback, this is my main concern. It's obvious, I get it, and you need a left tackle, you need a true number one wide receiver. Everybody knows that. It's not new or inventive or somehow insightful to say that if you don't get both of those positions filled, then that's going to be an issue.
And
but
you're not going to get him in free agency because every team feels that way, and they're not going to let the good ones go.
Sure.
But there are wide receivers that are available, and whether you have misgivings about DK Metcalf or Cooper Kupp, he's not really quite the guy. Well, I would say, number one, you can't afford to be, picky and choosy right now because you've got a second-year quarterback that is the best thing about your team right now that you need to protect in two ways. Number one, literally physically with a left tackle. Number two, by giving him somebody to throw to so his development isn't hampered. And the other thing is, if you get too picky about guys like Cooper Kupp, don't even worry about it because now the report is he's not even all that interested in the Patriots. So, careful how choosy you get with some of these guys. DK Metcalf, oh no, he's the wrong fit. He's not in the system. Where do you get off saying that any one of these guys would come in and day one be the number one primary target for Drake May, and you have the audacity to just say, yeah, but he's not for us.
Well, just real quick, Phil, wouldn't you say, though, you're not winning the Super Bowl this year, so you're trying to build an identity in a culture, and if I bring in if I bring in a number one receiver, well, first of all, Cooper Kupp, fine, bring him in all you want. I mean, he's play slot, be a slot receiver, and he's fine. But if you want to bring in a bigger name and they're not right for the culture, are you taking away more than you're getting?
Yeah, I think Fred once again proving himself to be the smartest person in the room here. I think that's exactly
that's why I wanted to go first before you.
They're doing, and I'm glad you did.
Who's the guy that they would bring in that would ruin the locker room?
So, ruin the locker room might be a little strong, but I'll use your example, DK Metcalf. They did not even offer the Seahawks a trade for DK Metcalf. Were they interested? Did they put out feelers? Did they try to get a gauge of what was going on there? Yes. But they didn't even offer Seattle to try to acquire DK Metcalf via trade because they deemed him not the right fit for them in terms of their football culture and what they want going on. And to your point about protecting Drake May physically and with a receiver to throw to, those two are very legitimate, important elements to any young quarterback's development. I get it. I think the third way they're trying to protect him right now, and I think Metcalf is an example of that. I think not trading for Laramie Tunsil is an example of that in some ways, is not surrounding him with people who aren't going to be representative of the things they're trying to show that they value right now.
What do they value?
Unselfishness, being a good teammate, toughness, showing up on time, working hard, practicing.
4 wins.
In the meantime,
that's the counter to that. And that's what they have to weigh every single time they make a decision like this. Laramie Tunsil's a 30-year-old left tackle who's made 5 Pro Bowls, who's still, depending on which metrics you look at, don't look at the penalties, but if you look at some of the other metrics, he's still a pretty damn good player.
I think that does a disservice to Mike Vrabel, at least. I hear he's this great leader, and he's a man's man. He's going to come in here, he's going to take care of business. You can't handle one wide receiver whose attitude may not totally jibe with what it is. Well, yeah, that's part of the job. Managing people, managing personalities, get them in line. To that point, anyone who hires DK Metcalf is an idiot that doesn't care about what the culture of their locker room is like.
But maybe it's more established, and they're bringing him into a more established environment, and they're looking to improve.
I think the other thing is when you bring one of these players in and you make them your highest paid, or at least one of your 2 or 3 highest paid players, you are sending a message to the locker room in terms of what you value. So this is an important time for them. This is the early stages of building a foundation for the culture that he's looking to have here for a long time. So you start investing in certain people, and it's not to say that these are bad guys, right? Like, I don't think DK Metcalf's a bad guy. I don't think that, Laramie Tunsil is necessarily a bad guy. I just don't think he likes to practice very much, apparently. I don't think he's got the best work ethic that you've ever heard of in the NFL. And so that's his reputation, at least. And so I think you have to be smart. You have to be careful about the types of human beings that you're bringing into your locker room. I think to this point, they've done a pretty good job about bringing in the kind of people that they want.
All right, a small bit of breaking news for the Patriots.
This is breaking sports news. Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
We've had rumors of this, Phil, for the last week or two, but Mike Reese just put out a story. Patriots making a change at center with plans to release franchise pillar and 8-time captain David Andrews today. Andrews recovering from shoulder surgery. If he decides to retire, the expectation is the team would host a ceremony for him to honor his widespread contributions over the last decade. But David Andrews on his way out, so now you have another hole at center to go with your hole at left tackle. And, right tackle's taken care of, but this offensive line very much a work in progress, and you're talking about bringing the right guys in. In the meantime, your franchise quarterback, who is currently making no money, that's the advantage you have over a lot of other teams, is going to get the stuffing knocked out of him.
It's looking like they could use 3 stars on the offensive line right now. And it's not a stunner that it's not going to be David Andrews. That shoulder injury was so significant. There were real questions about, and he has even been honest about this, about whether or not he'd be able to play next year. The timing of this is surprising to me. And I had heard rumblings about this as well. And, it's so early in the offseason, and David Andrews is not breaking the bank, and the Patriots have plenty of money to spend. There was no, in my opinion, real need for urgency with this. Like, could you not bring him back and just see if he could give it a go?
Yeah, but
and just see if he could play.
Make it to OTAs at the very least, right?
And give him a little bit of time, just, given what he's given to the organization, given what you have behind him at center, which is, I don't know what, Cole Strange, I guess? Like, we'll see if that experiment continues to work. So, bigger picture, you have 3 slots on the offensive line to me, center, left guard, and left tackle, that are not yet spoken for. And that's a problem.
In 3 to 4 games, you're going to need a right tackle, too. So you're going to need depth at that offensive line because Morgan Moses is not playing 17 games at his age. He's tough, but he's not going to do it.
There's nothing more important than protecting your franchise quarterback, and that's the one place they have failed miserably so far. And
was there anyone that they should have gotten? You saw Chicago go all in on the offensive line. Do you look at what Chicago did, and maybe the Patriots should have operated that way?
I think there are ways you can, and we've seen examples of this, and Chicago's the most recent one, where you can basically buy an offensive line in one offseason. You don't see that happen in other position groups, but when it's a disaster in some spots, they will go all out to make sure that they have those spots filled. So, I like what Chicago has done. To go and trade for Joe Thuney, I know he's making a lot of money. You didn't have to give up a whole heck of a lot for that guy, and he can still play at 32 years old. They signed Drew Dahlman, who was the top center that was out there. And so some of these guys aren't going to be viewed as scheme fits for what the Patriots want to do, I guess. But what do you have right now that would lead you to believe that, anything new isn't better than what you have?
And they may not fit the culture, Phil. It's such an important consideration.
Well, the thing is that with the offensive line, again, you can...
You're talking about the hat that you're wearing right now. That team is the ultimate example of culture building, I think, right now. Now, they also happen to have talent. But they are all about Dan Campbell and his culture and the message that he sends on a weekly basis and how he gets those guys going.
And other than quarterback, though, that team was assembled via the draft for the most part. Their elite talent has been drafted onto that team.
Yes.
So, but, Ben Johnson, he's an offensive guy. He went to Chicago, and obviously the first order of business was to build that offensive line, and they did. We'll see how it works out, but they traded and they maneuvered to make that. Now, they might feel they're closer to winning than the Patriots do. I mean, they do have, they have more talent at the skill positions and so on and so forth.
Representative defense there for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and so maybe that's what the difference is. But it is a glaring need. I mean, look for boring games because this defense probably be pretty good. You'd think they're going to be pretty good with Vrabel and the additions that they've made. And then what if Abdul Carter falls to them? Then you got they could make a defensive pick at number 4. I mean, they can't just take a tackle if they just
it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, with the Abdul Carter possibility, defense could be really, really good. I just worry about Drake May still being definitively the one thing that is going to get you to watch and, get a lot of fans. Face it, to watch. Are you going to be able to put up points? Are you going to be able to score more than 17 points?
Keep them healthy.
Yeah, in a handful of games, and keep him healthy and develop him. So that's the foundation. That's the bedrock of what you're trying to build your team around going forward. And if you don't fix things and figure out the offensive line and get him a receiver, it's going to be tough. The amazing defense would be great, but there's that other side of the ball that as simplistic as it may be, I can't get myself to not think about it.
Yeah, and there's still a few names out there in free agency that they could try to go get, and maybe there's a trade looming at some point for them to continue to add up front, but it is glaring right now, and I would add one more way in which the Patriots need to protect Drake May. Add it to the list of just physical protection, throwing to somebody, protecting him from people that you don't necessarily want him to be around. How about just giving him a run game? They did not have a running game last year, despite having two pretty talented backs, one of whom couldn't stop fumbling. But those two guys are pretty talented and are well respected by the rest of the league, and they could not run the football because they had no offensive line. And it looks like that'll be an issue again, unless they can start to add some pieces there that are actually starting caliber.
Here's just a Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated about Chicago. It's possible to remake an offensive line in one offseason, as Phil just said. But I think that the mistake we're making here is equating Chicago's free agency splurge on Jonah Johnson, Drew Dahlman, and Joe Tooney to Detroit Lions roster build because of Ben Johnson. No team can match heft with Detroit, and Johnson knows this, but Johnson can aid in the development of the quarterback by sealing up the interior of the offensive line with heady veterans who, at the very least, are going to understand the fundamentals on how to call and set protections. So that it was a problem with Chicago, and they are protecting their second-year quarterback. And that was Ben Johnson's idea going into free agency, is to protect the quarterback at all costs.
Well, and it's smart to get that interior of the line figured out just so that you can feel like you have somewhat of a secure pocket, and if there's pressure coming off the edges, you can step up, and it's a little bit easier for the quarterback to do that. They also are in a position that the Patriots aren't in, and that they do have a left tackle already. Like, left tackle's the hardest one to find.
Yeah, you're not going to find a left tackle in free agency.
And the Bears didn't need one coming into the offseason. Braxton Jones is a pretty good player, and he was one of the sure things that they actually had on that line last year.
Well, you can get interior linemen. That you can get. And so they go to free agency, and they can be traded away. So it's interesting that they didn't do that. But Phil Perry's with us, and we'll continue with him in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
If you need some work done on your home, I'm going to give you a number to call, 44 Beantown, because that is the question. If you need, say, windows, doors, roof.
Rodgers is basically processing what he wants to do. The Pittsburgh Steelers are
New England Patriots. And Phil has got, listen, he's reporting. He's got things he's got to do. But David Andrews has been cut, and you're surprised by that.
Yeah, the timing of it is just curious to me. We didn't know if he was going to be able to play this year. So start with that. But to me, you'd give the guy a shot to see if he can. And David Andrews wanted to play this year. And so this is a release. This isn't a David Andrews walking away. This is the team asking him to walk away. And that's a tough one for me, for somebody who's given as much as he has to the organization the last few years. And especially, again, this gets back to our conversation from earlier. You know, why are you saying no to certain guys? Well, they're not the right fit for us right now. Doesn't mean they're bad guys, but we're looking for a certain kind of football character. To me, Andrews is representative of everything they want right now. And so why wouldn't you give that a little bit more time just to see if it could work? Again, especially because, and they may be more sure on Cole Strange than I or anybody else is. But you have no certainty at the position behind David Andrews. And it's a position group that is going to be new and is going to experience turnover. And Andrews has experience in this offense and how they want to coach it, how they want to call the protections. So from a football X's and O's standpoint, it's a strange one to me. And then just from a cultural standpoint, it is also one that leads me to scratch my head a bit. It feels like they are really trying to, this new Patriots regime, and I get it to some degree, they are really trying to start fresh here. You saw Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones go yesterday to the Commanders. I think both those guys would have liked to stick around if the option had really been available there to them at a number that they felt was fair. And so now you're seeing Wise, Jones, and Andrews, guys who are either captains or captain-like, all removed from the organization basically within a 24-hour period.
And look, I'm glad you said it, Phil, because when it comes to the culture, I really don't want to hear anything else about, you know, the right culture guys and bringing them in if you're going to do this to David Andrews. It may not be important to you as a fan or you personally if Drake May or somebody wasn't there when Mike Vrabel got introduced as a head coach, but David Andrews was there, wasn't he? Didn't he like show up? Hasn't he been in the building? Hasn't he been rehabbing around Foxborough?
David Andrews and Joe Cardona were the two guys that were there.
Yeah, so he's one of these culture guys. He's one of the guys that has stayed in town, is doing everything, and he said at the end of the season, I want to be there, I want to play, I want to go to OTAs and camp, and I might not be able to do it. But I hope they'll give me the chance, and if they go in a different direction, that would really suck because – you know, this is what I do and this is what I continue to do. So he's been around, and I don't know if he's around at this moment. I mean, I don't know if he's in town to actually get the, you know, the notification, but that would double suck to do that to a guy who may have be gone out of town for a few days and say like, oh, by the way, no, don't bother coming back. That's bush league.
You're saying if there was a situation where he was not told to his face.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a small thing.
No.
But if you're going to tell me in one, you know, aspect of this team and the building going forward that, you know, they're all about, you know, the culture and about trying to, you know, create this thing to build this this atmosphere, he's one of those guys. And you can't, on the other hand, maybe dismiss him unceremoniously and say, oh, we're all about, you know, culture and having the right people in here.
Yeah, it's just been a team that's really been lacking leadership of late. And I think, you know, David Andrews has been sort of one of the few guys that has been pulling in what I think any head football coach would say is the right direction. And so you needed more guys like that. And now you're getting rid of one. And maybe they're looking at this free agent group, and by all accounts, all the guys they're bringing in as free agents are supposed to be great guys. But David Andrews has proven for a long time that he can be that guy in this market for a team that has had success, for a team that has struggled. He was always the first to the podium when it was really rough a couple years ago, and you know we thought Bill Belichick might be on the way out. He was right off the field and up to the podium and the first one to take all the hard questions before even the head coach. So
it's weird too because you mentioned Jones and Wise. They didn't sign for much. 1 year, $5 million each. I mean, you have Jones who can start on the other side of Gonzalez. He's proven that. I don't know where Wise would have wound up now that you have Landry here and you have Keon White at the other side. I don't know how, and the big guy in the middle, but culture guys not making a lot of money. You could have allocated those funds elsewhere instead of spending $60 million on a defensive back. I think you probably could have blown some people away and bring in some offensive line help otherwise, right?
Oh, yeah, sure. I just, it does feel like, it's hard not to look at all of these moves together. I do look at the Andrews one separately just because of how much he's meant to the organization. I think at some point, he won 2 Super Bowls. It's probably hard for offensive linemen, unless you're a tackle, to make it in the Patriots Hall of Fame. Logan Mankins isn't even in the Patriots Hall of Fame yet. But I would say David Andrews is one of those guys who is worthy of eventually getting one of those red jackets. So that to me, especially for what you're trying to build here right now, is a little incongruous. That's all.
Yeah, it is interesting and it is interesting that Hardy was making the argument about culture, and then during that conversation they got a big culture guy. Who are the leaders of this team now?
I think it's going to be some of the new guys. I talked to somebody from Vegas yesterday, and this is not a name that's gotten a lot of attention in free agency, and maybe rightfully so. He's probably like the 4th or 5th best player they've added to this point, but Robert Spillane is supposedly one of the best leaders you could ever find. And this person was saying, boy, what a big loss for our locker room in Vegas. And he would be surprised if this guy wasn't a captain in year 1, even having not spent any time here before. So, I think you're hoping that guys like that end up becoming sort of the faces of your team. And so, again, that's maybe what they're trying to do right now, is they're trying to give the team a new face.
Let me ask you this then, and this is an honest question. It's not leading anywhere. So, audience, calm down. I'm not being even negative. If Spillane is a great leader and he's that important to the organization, it's not like Vegas couldn't have kept him. Why did they let him go to free agency? It's not like they're loaded with talent that they have to.
They're not. And I don't know what their financial situation is.
It can't be that
because he's not making.
They don't have a quarterback.
Insane money. Well, they do. They Geno Smith. Who's not making an incredible amount.
You know what
of
I'm
money,
saying?
But,
They don't have a $50 million quarterback.
I mean, my guess is the Patriots, offered way more. That's the position they were in this offseason. But you're right. I mean, like that's what you're talking about right now. The fact that you even have to look for them and you have to find them and you have to, comb the locker room to figure out which guys are your guys. I don't know. The guy that just got released was pretty clearly, in my opinion, somebody who was going to be your guy. That's just my opinion. I don't know how the team in the front office there now feels about him or how Mike Vrabel feels about him personally.
But both of you guys know him, and both of you guys, Hardy worked for the team, and Phil is obviously around Foxborough all the time. You saw. It's interesting that this happened while you were on the air because you guys saw kind of the culture of the Patriots, and you're right. He was a steady, even though he didn't play, he was like a steadying influence during that whole transitional period.
Yeah, it wouldn't be uncommon to be doing an event or having something, whether it was for charity or client or something, and 2 of the guys showing up as Andrews and Slater. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. Two of the most rock solid Patriots that
human beings
that have ever played, and that's of course that's who you want,
right?
To be there representing you.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy like Slater, and Slater was part of this coaching staff last year, but the kind of guy you would like to keep around in any capacity, I would think,
especially
whether he can play or not.
In a position group that is totally in flux right now, and I understand it's difficult, especially to get the left tackle during free agency. If teams have one, they're going to re-sign him. If they have a redundancy at left tackle, they're going to hang on to both guys because you never know. You want to have that position. I'm not jumping up and down screaming that they should have gotten a left tackle already because that's probably the toughest thing to do. But give me something. Give me something on the offensive line. If you're not going to do that, don't go ahead and release the one guy who hasn't even given it a shot yet at OTAs to see if he can play. Don't call him up and say don't bother coming back to work. That's terrible. That's just dumb.
And I'm sure he'll whenever he says his goodbyes to the organization, he'll take the high road and he'll say this is how business is done in the NFL, and I'm at a certain age right now. But if anybody is going to be able to come back and play for that shoulder injury, my guess is it would be David Andrews if he does want to come back and play from that shoulder injury. So again, I would have been someone, when you're in this sort of delicate position that you are right now, trying to build a certain something when it comes to feel and trying to establish your values, that would have been a person that I would be more than willing, to dedicate a little bit more time to.
Okay. One of the things we had discussed earlier in the week is how many first-round picks they end up getting for Joe Milton. Will he be in camp competing for a spot, or will the offers be too good and too voluminous before then that they don't even make it that far?
Oh, yeah. No, I think this is an interesting conversation to me because I think I see both sides. I don't think I see both sides. I do see both sides to this, whereas on the one hand, you have a developmental player who, if you keep him around and you continue to develop him, if something bad happens to your starting quarterback, maybe you have somebody viable there.
This is breaking sports news. Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
All right. Breaking news. The Patriots have not traded Joe Milton. He's still on the roster. Thank you.
You know, Louth just drove off the road.
Yeah, you just gave people heart attacks.
I gave you a heart attack. You went right onto your phone. All right, I'm sorry. So you can see both sides. What is a reasonable return for Joe Milton? Is this really even the thing?
Yes. So I have asked people in the league about this, and they have told me, yeah, he would have trade value. He's a quarterback, and he showed some promise. But it was one game. He was a sixth-round pick. A sixth-round pick probably does not go to a third-round pick based on one game at the end of the year where he's playing against a bunch of backups, as good as he looked and as physically talented as he obviously is. So the question to me is, are you willing to trade him for a fifth? Are you willing to trade him for a fourth, a future fourth? To me, that's a much more realistic kind of return.
Okay, can I this is another question just about football. If I scouted a kid for the 8 years he was in college, and I know everything about him, I've seen game tape, and you give me, and then he goes to an organization and he plays in one game, I've torn up my draft board from a year ago, and I just go, now he's worth a fourth instead of a sixth? Why wouldn't you have just taken him in the fourth round of that draft?
Well, because you didn't think he could develop within an NFL system, and he went through a whole year, and then at the end of the year, he actually ended up performing pretty well against guys that are, I will say this for his performance, better than anything you could find out about a guy in a preseason game. Preseason game, that was not what that was. Those guys are NFL players on an NFL roster, whereas in the preseason, you're playing against guys that, for the most part, are going to be on the practice squad or out of the league.
Do you think the Georgia defense last year was better than the defense they faced against Buffalo?
I don't even know. No, I don't know what that question is.
Is it possible that an SEC defense
I'm not getting into this.
Better than what he played with against the Bills?
Here's what I would say. If you're desperate at the quarterback position, Fred, is a fourth-round pick so valuable to you, Jets fan? Is it so valuable to you that you wouldn't be willing to give it a shot based on what you saw?
No, I'm not even trying to make an argument. I'm kidding around, but I am saying, like, if I scouted a kid for 6-7 years and then he gets taken and he's invisible for a season and then plays one game, is my draft board from that year completely?
Well, you got to have a little humility because everybody misses in the draft, and there are guys like that you miss on, and it's clearly, never mind a full season later, a couple of weeks later, obvious to everyone that you missed.
Right, but a quarterback, though, is different.
Here's what I would say. The one thing, and this gets to the humility point too, because there is a lack of that in the league that we're talking about right now. The one thing I was told by one executive who I was asking about this, Joe Milton specifically, was the point that you're getting to, and it's not that you're holding true to your evaluation, it's that you don't want to sound dumb to your owner and go to him and say, hey, we're going to trade this fourth-round pick or this next year's fourth for Joe Milton. And he looks at you and says, what the hell? We just let that guy, we could have just had him in the fourth round last year. What happened there? So it's not like
ego gets in the way.
My evaluation is my evaluation and I'm sticking to it. It's crap, I can't go hat in hand to the owner and say, we got to give up a pick for this guy I could have had last year.
Imagine if Jim Harbaugh trades for him and he didn't even want him on in the Michigan program.
Well, he can't. There's too much egg on his face.
Yeah. I mean, what if what Joe Milton did in that last game has won over the college coach that told him to get out of his program? That would be something else.
Would you not be interested in him as a backup to Justin Fields, who's now in New York? I'm curious.
No, I would not be.
All right.
But I want to be on the record that this
Similar,
show is,
play styles, great athlete.
That's the dream scenario that he winds up starting for the Jets.
He's got
That's
a cannon
the
for an arm.
dream scenario.
Big ol'
here.
arm.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Justin Fields and him equal prospects coming out of high school probably, but coming out of college, exact same.
Zach Wilson's a great
Real quick,
prospect too.
Cooper Kupp.
They should be trying to go get him. I would have I'm in the minority. I would have traded for him. I would have traded for his contract. He's making $20 million this year. He's got a roster bonus on St. Patrick's Day, I think, that'll get his salary to $20 million.
What would you have given up for it?
A late round pick. A day 3 pick.
Okay.
6th, 7th rounder. I would have done that for everything, for all the reasons we're talking about. Culture, leadership, bring some maturity to that room, some professionalism to that
Is
room.
that what
Yes.
the ask got down to?
Well, yeah.
He
no one
was not
for him.
traded. I think he would have.
but-
I think he would have been dealt. Now, maybe the Rams, because of everything he's done for them, they would have been against sending him to a place he really didn't want to be. And so, who knows? Maybe that's what happened with a handful of places that would have been interested in him.
All right. Well, listen, we've talked about Joe Milton. Our record stands is talking about Joe Milton more than any show in the history of outside of Tennessee, where their feelings for him are not positive.
Play the hits.
That's right. All right. But Hardy brought it up, to be fair, and we did find out that he has not been traded as of yet. So that third pick
With
is still
the
there.
misuse of the breaking news sounder, which you're very proud of. It's irresponsible.
Criminal.
I've never been more proud of anything in my entire life.
It's
than that.
irresponsible at best, dangerous.
It's like playing
worse.
that signal from the emergency broadcast network.
But you're also not allowed to do.
You're not allowed to do it. I'm sorry if I broke any FCC rules by doing that. I do apologize. And James Louth, I know that you had a heart attack. Phil did. He opened up a notebook. He had his phone out, the whole thing. He had a pen going, the whole thing. He was like, "What's going on?" All right, we'll be back. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks,
Everyone,
guys.
watch him and read him. NBC Sports Boston. Hear the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Patriots.
Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallace?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. Probably have missed from the show. It's time for The Stack on Touch.
Holding the Steelers over the Colts. Now, the Steelers...
Giants, too, apparently.
Well, the Steelers wanted... Well, it gets interesting. The Steelers wanted to keep Justin Fields, but they knew they might want Aaron Rodgers, so they couldn't promise him the starting job. That's how the Jets ended up getting Fields. And now the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Giants are all interested in Aaron Rodgers, and he's making them wait. So these teams are – so the Steelers, they lost out on Justin Fields because of Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. So Aaron – and that picture on the beach – and you can give me his numbers. He got him in like 3 games. And he is just a coach killer. And the idea that a team like Pittsburgh or Minnesota would bring him in. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's not getting fired, so I guess whatever. But I think he gets Tomlin fired.
I would like to say he hasn't just seduced, Joe Rogan and Pat McAfee audience members. I'd like to say, hey, he hasn't seduced the league yet. He doesn't have a job yet. But it does sound like these teams are waiting on him.
There's 3 teams waiting on him. That's what Bert said. There's 3 teams waiting on him.
We can't do anything until Aaron Rodgers lets us know if he's selected
Justin
us.
Fields is the quarterback of the New York Jets because of Aaron Rodgers. And not just because the Jets cut Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead.
If you had to guess the touchdown to interception ratio for Aaron Rodgers for last year, what do you think it was?
Oh, boy. Did he throw 20 touchdowns?
Yep.
Did he throw 22 touchdowns?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to guess 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions.
28 touchdowns, 11 picks.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm shocked looking at that.
Okay.
And almost 4,000 yards.
You know what?
Yes, but the yard...
He's pretty good. 28-11? Come on, Fred.
What, pick 6 to a lineman in the Minnesota game that cost you the game?
That was unfortunate.
I watched every snap that guy took. He's terrible.
Every highlight I saw, every time I watched, he was awful. The best game he had was Week 3 against the Patriots.
Well, and then when they got eliminated from playoff, mathematically eliminated, he turned it on a little bit.
But I'm stunned. But if you were an alien, came down and looked at those numbers, you're like, oh yeah, I want him on my
What if
team.
I told you he had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson as his receivers? I mean, and that's not a bad.
Loves football.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Making solid moves still. There's a dark cloud. That is that Lower Upton.
Did you give
Married with Children?
Did you give the update on Louth real quick? I know you were talking about Louth.
No, you texted me. Is that true?
He was in the shower when the breaking news hit by you. He said he almost killed himself because he had things ready to go. He's got like all these graphics ready to go for updates.
Oh, and they're big
he
time.
thought you were breaking something here.
Wouldn't it be funny if he died and then getting out of the shower? Would that have been my fault? No, that would have been his fault and Mother Nature's fault. Because he would have slipped.
But if you die, it is Awful Announcing's fault.
If I'm murdered, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or it's Blind Scott. All right, that'll do it for us. Everyone have a great day.
He emailed me 5 times since he was on the show.
Yeah, I've stopped counting. That'll do it for us. Bye.